Chapter 170. The small line of words in the system prompt broke his train of thought. If he went out and paid a price, he could still get some powerhouses to join temporarily. It could be said that becoming a guest or something was equivalent to joining the Heavenly Jade sect. However, this was meaningless. They would not have 200 favorability points for Etianyun. This favorability was linked to loyalty. The higher the favorability, the higher the loyalty. Would the loyalty of a guest that he hired be high if he spent some soul armaments? Etianyun would not believe it even if he said it, so this wish was dashed. Originally, he wanted to take a shortcut so that he could get hundreds of millions of experience in one go. In an instant, his strength would soar, but it was unlikely. If he wanted to save a powerhouse and the other party's favorability continued to increase until it reached more than 200, it would naturally be considered as completing the mission. Moreover, the main mission was now divided into stages. There was an additional repair array. He had checked it just now. Without a high proficiency in divine runes, he would probably not be able to repair the array. He clicked on the main mission, and the completion rate was displayed, 70%. This meant that he had only completed 70% of this step, and there was still 30% of the array that had not been repaired. Whatever, let's look at the enhanced version of the lottery wheel first. Etianyun opened the lottery wheel, and immediately two modes popped up. One was the ordinary lottery wheel, and the other was the enhanced lottery wheel. It seems that it is not enhanced under the original premise. Otherwise, the number of lottery chances left before could be used on the enhanced version of the lottery wheel. Immediately, he chose the enhanced version of the lottery wheel. A large wheel appeared in front of him. Looking at the modules on it, there was no difference from the ordinary version of the lottery wheel. Roughly divided into consumption type, skill type, cultivation method type, weapon type, armor type, special item type, and divine skill type. Not to mention that the type did not change. Even the size of the module did not change, which meant that the most difficult to get was still the divine skill type. Now, he had a total of 2 free lottery chances. One was obtained from killing the Blood Fiend Patriarch, and the other was obtained from completing the main mission. Previously, the increased number of lottery chances that appeared were several times, or even 10 times. Now, there was only one. Activate Lucky Aura. The tenfold effect immediately stacked up. Etianyun didn't feel much. It wasn't like crazy mode, which directly increased his strength. After activating it, he shook the lottery roulette again. Suddenly, the large roulette began to spin, and it looked like it was spinning very fast. Godly skill, godly skill, godly skill. Without a doubt, he definitely wanted to get the divine skill first. Soon, the wheel slowly stopped, and the needle finally stopped on the consumption type. What the hell? I'm using the Lucky Aura. Etianyun was instantly enraged. Even after using the Lucky Halo, he could only use this consumable item. Wasn't this too much of a scam? Ding dong. A box rolled down and landed in his inventory. He had no idea what was inside. Let's open it and see what's inside. Etianyun felt very helpless. He had spent so much effort to obtain consumables. This was too much of a scam. Ding. Successfully obtained 20 times experience card. What? Etianyun's eyes widened. He didn't expect that the box didn't drop a medicinal pill, but a 20 times experience card, which is worth 300,000 crazy points in the merchant shop. Not bad, not bad. This is the enhanced version of the lottery roulette. Etianyun suddenly became excited. He rubbed his palms and shook the roulette again. The needle began to spin crazily. This time, give me a divine skill, give me a divine skill. Etianyun kept praying. The divine skill obtained from the enhanced version of the lottery roulette must be a heaven-defying existence, so he was very eager to get it. After a while, the needle finally stopped. He didn't dare to look at where the needle was pointing. Ding dong, a box fell into the inventory. He didn't know what it was, he only heard the sound. At this time, he slowly opened his eyes and looked at the lottery roulette. After seeing it clearly, his eyes widened. This is a divine skill. Finally, he got a divine skill. He quickly turned off the luck aura and jumped up in excitement. Elder Xian looked at him suspiciously. He didn't know what his master was doing. He had been talking to himself all this while. Old Xian couldn't see the lottery roulette. Of course, he thought that Etienne was crazy. His hand trembled. He chose the box in the inventory and slowly opened it. Ding! Successfully obtained divine skill. Teleport. Teleport. Teleport to any place within 1 kilometer in an instant. Cooldown time is 10 minutes. The next level requires 1 million crazy points. What? It turned out to be teleport. This is a divine skill for escaping or chasing. The range is also quite good. Etienne is quite satisfied with this skill. It's just that the cooldown time is a bit long. The distance of 1 kilometer is actually not far for his cultivation. In just a few seconds, he can sprint at a speed of 1 kilometer. But it's very useful for escaping or chasing. Divine skill is a divine skill. It seems that after the upgrade, the effect will be even more amazing. After the upgrade, I can fly freely in this area. Etienne smiled. This thing can be regarded as a divine skill. 2 chances were used up. When he looked at the enhanced lottery roulette again, he found that 1 lottery roulette costs 500,000 crazy points. He suddenly became silent. Divine skill is not a loss, but 20 times the XP is a big loss. If he bought it in the mall, it would cost 300,000 crazy points at most. But if he bought it here, it would cost 500,000 crazy points. Lottery is lottery. There are gains and losses. It's just gambling. Etienne shook his head and felt very helpless. He now has more than 1,300,000 crazy points. He can draw twice, but he doesn't dare to gamble. Even with luck aura, he can't easily choose rare things, so he can only put it aside for the time being. Perhaps the effect of the lucky halo had been greatly reduced on the lucky roulette, which was why such a situation had occurred. Forget it, I'll think about it when I have extra crazy points in the future. Or I can complete quests and get the corresponding rewards. This is undoubtedly the most cost-effective way. If I can get 500,000 crazy points back to me, I will be even happier. Etienne wants the 500,000 crazy point. He can use it to upgrade his other divine skill or bloodline. It's a tangible thing. When he was about to leave, a guard came in from outside of heavens, immersing ancient ruins. When he saw him, he said, "Elder E, there are a few people who said they are looking for Zhu Yue. They asked if she is in our heavenly jade sect. Do we have this person here?" Looking for Zhu Yue? Etienne frowned. He knows Zhu Yue's real name. Except for the elder, no one else knows. It's definitely not the elder who leaked it. There's only one possibility: they followed it. However, it was clear that he had followed some clues and found his way here. He said that Qingxian Mansion is going to be destroyed. Now that Qingxian Mansion is destroyed, they will definitely come to inquire about it. He said that to disturb their thoughts. If they really come here, they won't be able to find Zhu Yue. After all, she didn't join Heavenly Jade Sect. But now it's different. Zhu Yue has joined Heavenly Jade Sect. He has an obligation to help her solve this matter. Chapter 171. Only Deacon Huang and a few attendants are present. Zhu Yuxuan is not here. He doesn't know if she went to other places to inquire. "What can I do for you?" Etienne came out and looked at them indifferently. Deacon Huang frowned and looked at a young man coming out. He is a deacon of Star Pavilion. How can a young man come out to greet him? But this is their territory. Deacon Huang can't be angry. He can only smile and said, "Is your elder here? I am a deacon of Star Pavilion. I want to ask you something." Etienne has restored his original face, so they can't recognize him at all. Judging from this question, it was completely a probing question. He wasn't sure that Zhu Yue was here. After all, Zhu Yue is incognito, plus she is usually low-key, so it is difficult to investigate her. Although there is only a difference of 1 word, there are a lot of people with the same name, let alone a difference of 1 word. If there is anything, just ask me. I am an elder here, Etienne said solemnly. "You are an elder here?" Deacon Huang was taken aback. Such a young man as an elder. Is Jade Palace really okay? "Yes, what's the problem?" Etienne said indifferently. "You are an elder? Are you kidding me? We are from Star Pavilion. Do you know where Star Pavilion is?" The guard next to him is extremely dissatisfied. He is already very dissatisfied. "Who lied to you? He is our elder East." The guard next to them said angrily. They are all stunned. and immediately Deacon Huang reached out and stopped them, motioning his men not to speak. In any case, this is their territory, and they just destroyed Qing Xian Mansion, so they are very confident. These guards are also used to being arrogant. In the face of a first-level force, how can they be humble? Sorry, he looks too young. I don't believe that he is an elder. In that case, do you know Zhu Yue? Deacon Huang politely said. We came from Heavenly Border Continent to look for someone, no other reason. There is no such person in our Jade sect. Yi Tianyun wasn't wrong. Zhu Yue hid her identity. If one didn't know the real situation, they would call her Zi Yue. Since Zhu Yue's sister had warned him not to let her go back, he would not hand it over. Jade sect? Deacon Huang is startled because everyone knows that it's Jade Palace, and now that it changed its name, it means that the corresponding level has been reached. Under normal circumstances, the name of the sect was decided by the sect itself. It was not a problem if the sect called itself the sect, but if someone came and found out that it was a fake, it would incur the wrath of the sect. Once the news got out, this self-proclaimed force would definitely be spurned. It was even more likely that it would provoke experts to suppress it. In the entire continent, there was no power that could determine the rank of a power. It was the same as naming oneself. You can name whatever you wanted. However, this was much more serious than using the same name and surname. If he was discovered to be a fake, he would be suppressed. However, Deacon Huang quickly recovered and said with a smile, Since you're not here, then I won't disturb you. If you have heard of it, please be sure to contact Star Pavilion. We will give you a high reward. For this high reward, of course, Yi Tianyun didn't feel anything. It's better to confiscate the house. When they left, Yi Tianyun just turned around and saw Zhu Yue. Elder Yi, did the people of Star Pavilion come? Zhu Yue's eyes were a little worried. Sister, did she come? She didn't come, but that Deacon Huang came. Yi Tianyun looked at her and asked, Do you want to go back and have a look? Zhu Yue was silent. She didn't speak, but the worry in her eyes betrayed her. She hasn't seen her sister and relatives for a long time. How can she not worry? No need, we just settled down. There's still a lot of things to do. Zhu Yue shook her head. She still intends to stay in Jade's sect. If you want to go back, I will go with you. In fact, I have to go to the Heavenly Boundary Continent in a few days. Yi Tianyun looked at her deeply and said, If you want to go back, I will go with you. If you want to go, let me know. After he said that, he went inside, leaving Zhu Yue standing there alone thinking about something. He definitely has to go out. He still has to complete the main mission. He plans to start from several aspects. First of all, practicing divine rune mastery. After all, he is stuck at the first step, and he can only repair it himself. It's really embarrassing. The first main mission is to repair the entire heavens immersing ancient ruins. He doesn't know why he wants to repair it. He will have to move it to Heavenly Border Continent. No matter how good it is, he can't move it away. The second is to go to Heaven's Top Mansion. Heaven's Top Mansion is in decline. He can merge the two. That is undoubtedly one of the best ways. Old Xian. In addition to the defensive array, what other array is there that hasn't been repaired? The one that needs a divine rune master to repair. Yi Tianyun asked in advance. Yes, there is a flying array that hasn't been repaired. It's too damaged. When the previous owner flew it over, it was already damaged, so it can't continue to fly the heavens immersing ancient ruins. Old Xian said, What? There is a flying array? You mean this heavens immersing ancient ruins can fly? Yi Tianyun's eyes widened. Isn't this equivalent to a flying temple? Yes, but the flying array is very difficult to repair. Ordinary divine rune masters can't. Old Xian said, Master can't repair it, so he can only stay here. Over time, the outside was covered with piles of mud. So that's it? Yi Tianyun was silent. He now knows that the system is not randomly arranging this from the main mission. The real meaning is that even the heavens immersing ancient ruins must be moved there. Directly fly the heavens immersing ancient ruins. So there is no need to rebuild the mansion or anything. They can directly use this heavens immersing ancient ruins. An indestructible fortress that can be moved at will. It is definitely a first-class treasure. It seems that I have to contact Heaven's Top Mansion even more. This heavens immersing ancient ruins is Spirit King Xiantian's temple, and Spirit King Xiantian is from Heaven's Top Mansion. Obviously, he has to contact them. Same as before, if he can rope in heaven's top mansion, it will instantly double the strength of heavenly profound sect. Chapter 172. After understanding the meaning of this task, Etianyun doesn't reject it anymore. It's difficult, but he can do it step by step. He doesn't have any bottlenecks. As long as he crazily carves divine runes, it won't be a big problem for him to become a divine rune master. After a few days of preparation, Etianyun is almost done with the things he needs to do. He had refined quite a few soul tools and elixirs, so he had temporarily come to an end. What he needs now is to go to Heavenly Border Continent to find materials to improve his divine rune proficiency. Otherwise, he really can't complete this task. If he can get help from others, he can invite a 5th-grade divine rune master, but the difficulty of becoming a divine rune master is relatively high, and the reward is extremely high. Old Xian also said that it's not enough to become a divine rune master. He needs a more powerful divine rune master. The meaning of this is different. The gap between first-level core condensation and peak core condensation is the same. It seems that I can only do it myself. I need to go to Heaven's top mansion. After Etianyun figured it out, he walked out of the room, but after a few steps, someone called him. Elder Yi. The person who called him is Zhu Yue. You want to go with me? Etianyun turned his head and looked at her. Yes, I want to go with you. Qingxian Mansion is gone now. I think they won't make things difficult for me. I also miss my family. Zhu Yue's beautiful eyes are full of longing. She ran away for so long. She must miss her sister. Okay, then you get ready. We'll leave soon. Etianyun said. Okay, then wait for me for a moment. Zhu Yue nodded her head heavily and immediately ran off to prepare. After Etianyun found Shirshuyan, he roughly explained the situation. Aunt, I'm going to Heavenly Border Continent with Elder Zhu to see my family, and find the people from Heaven's top mansion to see how they are doing. After all, Heaven's immersing ancient ruins was left by their ancestors. I want to communicate with them. If possible, they can join us and merge into one. Etianyun suggested. That's a good proposal. Heaven's top mansion isn't weak. It would be great if they could join us. Shirshuyan said softly. Then you must be careful outside. I will always wait for you to come back. I will also take care of Heavenly Jade Sect. I think you're the real master of this place. The real master? To be honest, if Aunt didn't care about the Heavenly Jade Sect, I really wouldn't care. Etianyun was willing to sacrifice so much for Shirshuyan. That's why he was willing to protect Heavenly Jade Sect. Otherwise, he wouldn't care about the Jade Sect at all. Of course, it's different now. There are a lot of changes, plus the main quest. It makes him feel a little bit responsible. In fact, the main reason why I am willing to protect this place is to protect you, but also to pave the way for your future. Shirshuyan smiled and said, At that time, I was thinking, whether you become a genius or a waste in the future, this place will be of great help to you. If you become a genius, I will lay a good foundation to help you. If you become a waste, I will make this place into a solid fortress to protect you. Etianyun looked at Shirshuyan for a long time. After the two looked at each other for a long time, he hugged Shirshuyan and sighed. Aunt, thank you for always protecting me. I understand. He was reborn a long time ago and spent a lot of time with Shirshuyan. Naturally, their relationship is very deep, and he knows what Shirshuyan has done for him. Well, it's getting late. It's not good to let Elder Zhu wait for too long. Shirshuyan patted him on the shoulder. Well, wait for me to come back. Etianyun smiled slightly and walked outside. When he walked out, Zhu Yue was already waiting outside. After they nodded, they both went out and rode the black dragon in the direction of the Star Pavilion. When they left, Shirshuyan reappeared outside the gate. Her beautiful eyes flashed. Tianyun, you are much stronger than me. I can't fall behind, otherwise I won't be able to help you in the future. She looked at the direction where they left, turned around and returned to the heavens, immersing ancient ruins. Riding the black dragon, they soon arrived at the periphery of Heavenly New City and landed. Heavenly New City. Zhu Yue looked at Heavenly New City. Her heart was a little touched. After several years, she finally came back. Originally, she wanted to come back after gaining some power, but now she didn't rely on her own strength to control a force. Instead, she relied on Etianyun to come back. Not long after joining Heavenly Jade Sect, she needed Etienne's help, which made her feel a little ashamed. She didn't help much, but Etienne helped her. Naturally, she felt ashamed. Let's go in. Etienne walked in with Zhu Yue, returned to Heavenly New City, and went straight to Star Pavilion. As soon as they entered the city, the surrounding people immediately saw Zhu Yue. Their face changed, and quickly ran back to Star Pavilion to report. There are many people in Star Pavilion in the entire Heavenly New City, so as soon as Zhu Yue came back, they immediately knew. In less than a moment, a group of people had already walked out of the Star Pavilion before they even reached it. The leader is none other than Zhu Yuxuan. Sister. Zhu Yuxuan looked at her in disbelief. She didn't expect that her sister, who she hadn't seen for many years, really came back. Sister. When Zhu Yue saw her sister, her eyes immediately turned red. They didn't say much. They immediately hugged each other. As a pair of sisters, they haven't seen each other for many years. Naturally, they miss each other very much. But no matter how much they miss each other, no matter how many words they want to say, they can't say it out loud. All of it is turned into a hug. It can be completely resolved. Aren't you an elder of Heavenly Jade Sect? At this time, Deacon Huang smiled slightly. There was a bit of surprise in his eyes. In fact, he took Zhu Yue's portrait and immediately found her. But her name is not Zhu Yue, but Zi Yue, the pavilion master of Wind Pavilion. After going to help Heavenly Jade Sect, there was no trace of her. This information is easy to investigate, but after so many years, no one has found out, and the simple reason is that Zhu Yuxuan stopped him. But he didn't blame Zhu Yuxuan, nor did he force Zhu Yue to come back. He chose to leave. The reason is very simple. Heavenly Jade Sect can destroy Qing Xian Mansion, so it's worth it to make friends with them. Yes, I brought our elder Zhu back. She is now an elder of Heavenly Jade Sect. This time she came back to visit. Etienne said very straightforwardly. He knows that Zhu Yue's matter will definitely be investigated. Zhu Yue can't change her face like him, so it's easy to find out who she is. Chapter 173. It turns out that Zhu Yue has become an elder of Heavenly Jade Sect. This is her honor. Thank you for taking care of her. Deacon Huang laughed and said enthusiastically, if it wasn't for Heavenly Jade Sect's strength, Deacon Huang would have already kidnapped Zhu Yue and brought her back to Heavenly Jade Sect. Etienne knows this. Zhu Yue and Deacon Huang are even more aware of the fact that Heavenly Jade Sect is a powerful sect. But Star Pavilion doesn't know that Heavenly Jade Sect's strongest cultivator is in front of them. They thought that Heavenly Jade Sect has some powerful cultivator behind them. That's for sure. Our Jade Sect will take good care of her. Elder Zhu is a rare talent in our Jade Sect. She can manage our Jade Sect well. Etienne said solemnly. I know everything about Elder Zhu, but I don't want to waste my time on her. Star Pavilion is a powerful sect, but some things are better left unsaid. The deacon's face changed, and there was a hint of anger in his eyes. How dare a small Heavenly Jade Sect challenge them in front of them? So arrogant. Isn't Heavenly Jade Sect just a second-grade sect? Don't think that just because you destroyed Qing Xian Mansion doesn't mean that you are arrogant. Qing Xian Mansion is just an ordinary force in front of Star Pavilion. How dare you act arrogantly in front of us? Deacon Liu couldn't stand it anymore. He is very unhappy with Etienne's tone, especially the fact that Etienne is so young. Letting such a young man become an elder is simply stupid. Etienne said indifferently. Qing Xian Mansion is an ordinary force? If so, why did you force our elder Zhu to marry into a trashy sect? Deacon Liu is angry. He really can't refute Etienne's words, he is just angry. Deacon Huang stretched out his hand to stop Etienne. He immediately apologized. Elder E, I'm sorry, we don't know how to speak. Please forgive us. It's okay. Heavenly Jade Sect is a second-grade sect, but it doesn't mean that we are afraid of anything. Elder Zhu is our elder. Don't try to take advantage of her. Etienne said solemnly. Etienne is so protective of her, so Zhu Yue is very touched. You know, this is Star Pavilion. In terms of power, they were stronger than the profound Azure Mansion, but relatively speaking, they were a bit more obedient. No, we will not try to take advantage of her. Deacon Huang smiled and said, let's not stand here. Let's go inside and have a seat. Yi Tianyin looked at Zhu Yue and Zhu Yuxuan and nodded. It's not easy for them to meet each other. They must have a lot to talk about, so he decided to stay here for a while. Under Deacon Huang's lead, they were led into the Star Pavilion's VIP room and served them top-notch tea. After settling them down, Deacon Huang walked out of the room. Deacon Liu immediately surrounded him and said with dissatisfaction, "Deacon Huang, why did you stop me? That kid is too arrogant. He is so young, but he dares to be so arrogant. It's just that the person behind them destroyed the profound Azure Mansion, and now they're acting arrogant. Since you know that it's the mysterious expert who destroyed Qing Xian Mansion, why are you still shouting?" Deacon Huang said in a deep voice. "That's the mysterious expert's business. What does it have to do with him? I don't believe that Heavenly Jade sect will attack us if we touch him." Deacon Liu said with dissatisfaction. "The most important thing is what about our Zhu family? We wanted to rely on Qing Xian Mansion to help us, but now Qing Xian Mansion is gone. Are we going to rely on a second-grade sect? It's a joke. The mysterious expert is the real strong one. Without him, it's just a second-grade sect. What's there to see?" "You mean, you want her to continue to marry other forces?" Deacon Huang said in a deep voice. "Isn't that for sure? If not for that, our Zhu family would be finished." Deacon Liu said in a deep voice. "Unless Heavenly Jade sect can help us, but what can a second-grade sect do to us? Unless the mysterious expert behind them comes out, otherwise it's useless." Deacon Liu's words were unscrupulous. He really looked down on a second-grade sect. They must have gotten help from a benefactor. If there was a mysterious expert behind them, they wouldn't be a second-grade sect anymore. They would be at least a third-grade sect. Maybe they helped to destroy Qing Xian Mansion and then left. At this time, Heavenly Jade sect is equivalent to an empty shell. Although no one dares to provoke Heavenly Jade sect, at least Heavenly Jade sect can't help them. "Are we going to fall out with Heavenly Jade sect?" Deacon Huang said with a gloomy face. "What do you mean by falling out with them? We didn't provoke them. Zhu Yue is one of our people. Zhu family spent a lot of resources to cultivate her. I don't care if you like it or not. I don't like it." Deacon Liu was unhappy. Zhu family spent a lot of resources to cultivate them, but when they wanted to play a role, they ran away. How can he not be angry? Deacon Huang was silent. Deacon Liu's words are quite right. If he let Zhu Yue go, he won't get any benefits. If this continues, Zhu family will definitely be finished. I am thinking too much. I can let Zhu Yue become an elder of Heavenly Jade sect, but she has to pay a price. Deacon Huang patted his head and shook his head. "It seems that I am afraid of the mysterious expert behind Heavenly Jade sect. I don't even dare to make a request. I will go and tell him now. I will also go with you." Deacon Huang and Deacon Liu pushed the door together. Deacon Liu walked in angrily. His eyes are very unfriendly. Yi Tianyin is drinking tea in his room. He is not surprised to see them break the door. Instead, he slowly put down the teacup and said indifferently, "What's the matter?" "Of course. Since you know that our Zhu family is in trouble, and you let Zhu Yue become your elder, isn't that a big loss for us?" Deacon Liu said unhappily. Zhu Yue's face sank. Zhu Yuxuan stood up and wanted to say something, but Yi Tianyun's voice interrupted. "Fine, if you have any requests, just say it. After all, you have cultivated her for so long. If you just give her up like this, you will not be happy." Yi Tianyin motioned them to speak. Yi Tianyun's straightforwardness surprised them. They thought that Yi Tianyin will make a fuss. Yi Tianyin already knew their difficulties. If it is not difficult, no one would want to marry them. "Good." Deacon Liu quickly reacted. He said coldly, "Our request is very simple. Our Star Pavilion is going to hold a Divine Rune competition. Every branch needs to provide a number of Divine Rune Masters to participate in the competition. Our branch has too few Divine Rune Masters, and even fewer outstanding ones. You only need to provide a 4th-grade Divine Rune Master, and you will be in the top 3. In this way, Zhu Yue will belong to you." Zhu Yuxuan's face changed. She hurriedly stood up and said, "You are exaggerating. Even if my sister marries in a Qing Xian Mansion, at most they could provide a 3rd-grade Divine Rune Master. Let alone the top 3. It will be good if they can enter the top 10. You are asking for an exorbitant price. Yuxuan, who are you helping? Deacon Lu said angrily. Zhu Yui's face turned ugly, as expected. These people still want to sell her. No wonder her sister told her never to come back. It is simply a dog, cannot change its habit. Not to mention the request. They are asking for an exorbitant price. They are simply making things difficult for Yi Tianyan. Chapter 174. Zhu Yuxuan's words exposed their greedy demands. Previously, it was all an act, but now it was different. Zhu Yuxuan was very unhappy about this. Zhu Yue was even more dissatisfied. It's true that I've been nurtured by the Zhu clan, but for so many years, I've fought for everything myself, and I've sacrificed a lot for the Zhu clan. At the very least, my sister has sacrificed a lot. How are you treating her? Zhu Yue roared. Zhu Yuxuan's treatment was very poor, and after she was sacrificed, it became even more so. Now, Zhu Yuxuan was in a state of being abandoned. Their previous marriage had already been destroyed. However, under normal circumstances, it was not good to marry someone who had a Dao companion. Hence, Zhu Yuxuan's treatment was not good. Just when Attendant Lu was about to say something, Yi Tianyan stood up and said indifferently, I can agree to your conditions. It's just a 4th-grade divine inscriptionist. I can find one. What? Their eyes widened. 4th-grade divine inscriptionists were extremely rare. Even in 3rd-grade clans, there were only a few of them. At the very least, their branch didn't have one. Even 3rd-grade divine inscriptionists were rare, not to mention 4th-grade divine inscriptionists. Can you really find one? Attendant Lu's voice trembled. They were counting on this point. If they couldn't win this round, their Zhu clan would be abandoned. The Stellar Pavilion was very big, but it was formed by many clans. The overall strength of the Stellar Pavilion was naturally stronger than the Qingxian Mansion, but in terms of cohesiveness, it wasn't as good. Not only did each branch have to produce perfect results, but they also had to perform well in the competitions. Otherwise, their status in the Stellar Pavilion wouldn't be high. Hence, in this grand competition of divine inscriptionists, it was an opportunity to showcase the strength of each branch. Naturally, they had to give it their all. Yes, but I have a condition, Yi Tianyan said. What condition? As long as you can fulfill it, anything is negotiable. Attendant Lu hurriedly said, It's very simple. The 2 sisters of the Zhu clan will be part of our Heavenly Jade sect in the future. How about it? Yi Tianyan smiled faintly and said, Also, the rewards for this competition will naturally belong to us. How about it? Even Zhu Yuxuan was stunned by the request. It would be best if she could leave this damn place, but she didn't know if Deacon Lu would agree. Deacon Lu didn't even think about it and immediately agreed. As long as you can get into the top 3, that little bit of reward is nothing. Both of them are yours. He gave it to her without any hesitation or consideration. This caused Zhu Yuxuan's beautiful eyes to reveal a trace of desolation. This was no different from being abandoned. They were more like goods that could be casually traded. Zhu Yue was also very angry. You guys don't even have the slightest bit of retention. How much has Big Sister done for this Zhu family? Don't be ridiculous. Now that our Zhu family is in danger, we have to be willing to do anything. Deacon Lu was so reasonable. In fact, they were more concerned about their own status. Just because they didn't have the surname Zhu didn't mean that they weren't members of the Zhu family. On the other hand, the 2 sisters were surnamed Zhu, but they didn't seem to be from the Zhu family. The reason was very simple. They were adopted orphans. They had been raised for so many years just for this moment. Zhu Yue and Zhu Yuxuan looked at each other, and their eyes were filled with despair towards the Star Pavilion. They already knew that this was not the first time. Really? Willing to do anything? Yi Tianyan sat back on the chair and looked at him with a faint smile. Then can I add another condition? What condition? As long as it's reasonable, it's fine. Deacon Lu kept talking, and Deacon Huang next to him didn't interrupt. The reason was very simple. He completely acquiesced. It's very simple. I want your life. Is that okay? Yi Tianyan said indifferently. What did you say? Deacon Lu was angry and slammed the table next to him. Bang! The table broke into several pieces. Are you kidding me? You are making trouble. Making trouble? Tianyun smiled faintly. Didn't you say that any condition is fine? Isn't this one of the conditions? Zhu Yue chuckled. Elder, he was really willing to help them get back at him. Sister, he will provoke Deacon Liu. Zhu Yuxuan was a little worried. It's okay. Whoever dares to provoke him is courting death. Zhu Yue smiled indifferently. Tianyun's strength was extremely strong. Who would know that this young man was the expert who destroyed the Qingxian mansion? This condition is unreasonable. Of course not. Deacon Liu said coldly. We are talking about the conditions now. Unreasonable conditions are not allowed. Fine, I want the two sisters. In the future, their matters have nothing to do with the Star Pavilion. Tianyun said, no problem, as long as the divine rune master you find can get into the top 3, if not, they can't go with you. Deacon Liu said in a deep voice. Even if you get into the 4th place, it's not allowed. No problem, top 3 it is. Tianyun answered casually. He was that confident. With the standard of a 4th grade divine rune master and the power of the 3rd eye, who would dare to compete with him? Unless a 5th grade divine rune master came. Deacon Liu and Deacon Huang looked at each other in dismay. This was a rather straightforward answer. Fine. When will you arrange for people to come over? We will make the arrangements. The competition will start soon. Deacon Liu said in a deep voice. There is no need to arrange. I am already a 4th grade divine rune master. Tianyun crossed his legs and said indifferently. What? You are a 4th grade divine rune master? They were shocked by these words. Even Zhu Yue and the others were shocked by them. Zhu Yue thought that Tianyun really had other helpers. She did not expect that the 4th grade divine rune master was her. Yes, I am a 4th grade divine rune master. Tianyun said indifferently. Bullshit. You are so young. How can you be a 4th grade divine rune master? Deacon Liu directly cursed. There is a limit to your jokes. Even if your Heavenly Jade sect has a strong expert as their backing, can you joke around like this? Under normal circumstances, given his age, he would at most be a 2nd grade divine inscriptionist. This was already considered quite strong. How could they believe it? Even Zhu Yue did not believe it. You think I am joking? Tianyun said indifferently. If I am a 4th grade divine rune master, what will you say? If you are a 4th grade divine rune master, I will eat this table. Deacon Liu pointed at the table that he smashed and sneered. After talking for so long, Tianyun was just trying to coax him. How could he not be angry? It was not easy to see hope, but it turned out to be a joke. Very good. Tianyun quickly took out a piece of paper and the divine rune pen. He instantly increased his mental power to the extreme, and then quickly drew on the paper. In a short moment, a small divine rune was imprinted on the paper. Then he threw the divine rune in front of him and sneered, "Swallow it, trash." This divine rune floated in the air and immediately fell into the hands of Deacon Liu. The two deacons looked at it carefully and were instantly dumbfounded. 4th grade divine rune. Deacon Liu's face turned pale. He did not dare to believe Tianyun. He did not expect that this young man in front of him was really a 4th grade divine rune master. In other words, he was a monster. Chapter 175. The 4th grade divine inscription Tianyun was inscribing was one of the simplest. Moreover, it was a miniature version, so the time required to inscribe it was relatively short. But no matter how short the time required was, it was still a 4th grade divine inscription. Even those who didn't know how to inscribe divine inscriptions could tell that it was a 4th grade divine inscription. From the effect of the inscription, they could tell that it was indeed a 4th grade divine inscription. In fact, as long as one could inscribe a 4th grade divine inscription, no matter how weak or useless the inscription was, one could be considered a 4th grade divine inscriptionist. This was why Elder Xin said that in order to restore the flying array, only a top-notch divine inscriptionist would be able to do so. An entry-level divine inscriptionist and a late-stage divine inscriptionist were 2 different levels. Deacon Liu and the rest were dumbfounded. They had all misjudged him, especially Deacon Liu. He even said that he would eat the table. Now that the table was placed in front of him, they just didn't know if he would eat it or not. How about it? Do you have a 4th grade divine inscription? Can I eat the table now? Tianyin looked at him indifferently. Deacon Lu's expression was ugly. He didn't want to eat the table at all. It wasn't that he couldn't chew it, but it was too embarrassing. There weren't many people present, only a few of them. But eating in front of them was already very embarrassing. I had eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. Please forgive me. I can give you a big gift as an apology. Please forgive my mistake just now. Deacon Lu apologized very sincerely, but he was more embarrassed. Who would have thought that Tianyin was really a fourth-grade divine inscriptionist? With this, the value of Tianyin immediately skyrocketed. In terms of rank, Tianyin was much higher than them. Especially since he was so young, his potential was astonishing. There was a high possibility that he could become a divine inscriptionist in the future. Such a character was definitely a genius that even fourth-grade powers would fight over. Eat the table. Tianyun's voice was extremely low. Some words have been spoken, so you have to pay the price. Also, you said before that for the sake of the Zhu clan, you should be willing to pay the price. Don't you want me to help? Deacon Lu was dumbfounded. If Tianyin didn't help them, their Zhu family would be finished this time. They had lost so many times in a row. If this continued, their Zhu family wouldn't be able to maintain their position anymore. Although they could still stay here, their status and distribution of resources would be extremely small. Elder Yi, as a person of great stature, please be magnanimous. Attendant Lu felt that with your young age, it's really impossible for you to become a fourth-grade divine inscriptionist. It's our fault for underestimating you, Attendant Huang persuaded. This is no longer an error of judgment. This is looking down on me, Tianyin said in a low voice. I have already told you everything, and you say that I am joking? Do you think I would joke around with Elder Zhu's freedom? There are some words that I don't want to say a second time. If it was any other fourth-grade divine rune master, I believe that these words would definitely make them turn around and leave. Deacon Lu was silent for a while. He frowned as if he was thinking about something. All right, I'll eat. Deacon Lu picked up one of the wooden tables and put it into his mouth. Since he has reached the core condensation stage, not only his physique is strong, his teeth are also amazing. It's not a problem for him to bite this wooden table. Then he ate it as if he was eating rice crust. It was very crispy, and he quickly ate a small piece of the wooden table. His heart was full of humiliation. Tianyin is not soft-hearted at all. Some things have already been done, so he doesn't mind slapping them in the face. Especially their attitude. It made him feel even more displeased. Zhu Yue and Zhu Yuxuan couldn't help but laugh. They felt that Deacon Lu deserved it for being so arrogant. Immediately, they felt a sense of relief in their hearts. Just based on what they had said before, they had completely given up on them. Is it okay? Deacon Lu said in a low voice. Yes, you can go and prepare. When it's okay, just inform me. Tianyin said indifferently. No problem. Deacon Lu clenched his teeth and immediately followed Deacon Huang out of the door. Ding! Successfully accepted the mission, obtaining the top 3 positions in the Divine Inscriptions competition, rescuing the 2 sisters. Reward: 1 million experience points, 1 ticket to the strengthened version of the lottery roulette, 5,000 proficiency points, 100 favorability points between Zhu Yue and Zhu Yuxuan. The sudden appearance of a small quest made his eyes light up. He didn't expect that there would be a quest in this place. After walking away, Deacon Lu said angrily, "This bastard, he really made me eat a table. If he wasn't a 4th-grade divine rune master, I would have hung him up and beaten him to death. Who knows, he really is a 4th-grade divine rune master. No wonder he can become an elder of Heavenly Jade Sect. It seems that Heavenly Jade Sect is not stupid, but he really has the strength." Deacon Huang wondered. Heavenly Jade Sect is really a crouching tiger hidden dragon. How did he suddenly appear? Who cares? He is a 4th-grade divine rune master. Deacon Lu said hatefully. It's best if he doesn't get in the top 3. Then he will have to help us again, and the 2 sisters will not escape from our hands. I hope so. A sect with a nouveau riche face dares to be arrogant in front of us. Deacon Huang was also unhappy in his heart. At this time, in the dark corner, a figure flashed and immediately opened a door and walked in. Elder E, where did you go just now? Zhu Yue saw Yi Tianyun came in and wondered. Nothing, just went out for a walk. Yi Tianyun just went out to listen to the situation, and sure enough, they are not good people. He could have taken them away by force, but he didn't want to kill them at will. Although they're divided into several branches, but if one of the star pavilions is breached, then the other branches will immediately come to support. Even if they don't like the Zhu family's branch, they will still come to support. This is for their own reputation. The star pavilion of the branch is also the star pavilion. Because of this, the star pavilion has a lot of treasures, and no one dares to rob it at will. Yi Tianyun doesn't want to provoke any forces for the time being. God knows what kind of experts are in the star pavilion, so it's better to be cautious. The reason why he dared to be so domineering was because the situation had forced them into a corner. He had their lives in his hands, so they did not dare to move. He was also helping them vent their anger. Elder E, thank you so much for your help. As long as I can regain my freedom, I don't need to join Heavenly Jade Sect anymore. I am willing to help Heavenly Jade Sect for the rest of my life. Zhu Yuxuan knelt down and bowed deeply to Yi Tianyun. Zhu Yue also squatted down and expressed her gratitude to Yi Tianyun. It's nothing. I said that you will join Jade Sect. Both of you are very strong. If you don't join Jade Sect, it will be our loss. Yi Tianyun smiled and said, there is no need to say anything else, it's settled. When you get into the top 3, you will no longer owe Star Pavilion anything. Yes, we've already done all we can for you. Star Pavilion has treated us well, but we have done what we should. We don't owe them anything. Zhu Yue and Yi Tianyun's eyes flashed with determination. They are not ungrateful people, but Star Pavilion has treated them like this. They really can't bear it anymore. After this time, they will leave completely. Immediately after they looked at each other, they nodded and said in unison, from now on, we two sisters will serve Elder Yi wholeheartedly. We will only listen to Elder Yi's orders. We are willing to sacrifice everything for Elder Yi. We have no regrets. Chapter 176. What the two sisters said really shocked Yi Tianyun. He can hear the sincerity of the two sisters. This could actually be seen from their favorability level. They did not do anything, but their favorability level had already exceeded 200. And Zhu Yue's had even reached more than 300. This meant that even if they completed the task, it would just be the icing on the cake. This is not necessary. I have never thought of this. Yi Tianyun smiled awkwardly, feeling very embarrassed. This is our own idea. You have helped us to this point. You are already our benefactor. Being able to free us from this place is already the greatest gift we can receive. Their eyes were filled with gratitude. We believe that following Elder Yi will lead us to the most glorious path. Their words made Yi Tianyun feel embarrassed. It was a little too exaggerated. Ahem, there is no need to say anything else. Let's wait for the results of this competition. Yi Tianyun smiled. I believe that since Elder Yi has said it, there must be no problem. Zhu Yue smiled. She naturally knew Yi Tianyun's character. How could he agree to something he was not sure of? Yi Tianyun shook his head and did not refute anything. Next, they waited for the time of the competition to arrive. The overall time was not long, at most a week, otherwise they would not be so anxious. After arranging a private room, waiting for him was the internal divine rune competition of the Star Pavilion. During this period, Yi Tianyun asked for some materials to go back and practice. Anyway, he came here to improve his proficiency in divine runes. He could not afford to waste time. Knock, knock, knock. The sound of knocking on the door indicated that it was time to participate in the internal divine rune competition. Yi Tianyun opened the door and walked out. He saw the two sisters waiting outside. Elder Yi, we are ready to go to the Star Pavilion. Is there anything else that needs to be prepared? Zhu Yue asked. No, everything is ready. We can go now, Yi Tianyun said. Zhu Yue nodded and led him to the door. She saw that several carriages of feathers had already been prepared outside. Deacon Huang and the others were already waiting there. After getting on the feather carriage, they headed to the Star Pavilion's main pavilion. The venue of the competition was the main pavilion of the Star Pavilion. which was only open to the branch families of the Star Pavilion. As for the others, unless someone introduced them, it was absolutely impossible for them to enter and watch. The journey was not particularly long. Coupled with the feather carriage, after half a day of traveling, they arrived at the main pavilion of the Star Pavilion. However, the competition would not be held inside the general pavilion. Instead, it would be held in the spacious public square outside. When Tianyan got off the carriage, he saw no special decorations. It was just an empty space surrounded by stones. If one wanted to watch from the outside, they would either have to fly or look down from a tall building in the distance. When they arrived, there was already a sea of people. There were many onlookers. They couldn't go in, but they all wanted to see what kind of people were participating in this competition. Here, each family's feather carriage seemed to have become a competition. Basically, each family's feather carriage was the standard of luxury. But as soon as they landed, they saw a feather carriage with the word Zhu engraved on it, indicating that the people of the Zhu family were already here. Then, a middle-aged man came down from the carriage. He had an extraordinary appearance, and a strong aura was revealed. His cultivation was very strong, reaching the 7th level of the Spirit Core stage. As soon as he came down, he looked at them and directly locked his eyes on Tianyan. This is the 4th grade Divine Rune Master you found. He is really young. Zhu Tianhong looked up and down at Tianyan. If you didn't tell me that he is a 4th grade Divine Rune Master, I really wouldn't believe it. This is the first time we meet. I am the family head of the Zhu family. This time, I invited you here to help our Zhu family win this competition. I don't need to say anything else. What is yours, but if you can't achieve the result we want, then I'm sorry. The moment he opened his mouth, he spoke about benefits, as expected of the demeanor of these patriarchs. Don't worry, I will do what I say. I won't let you down. Tianyan replied indifferently. If only that's the case. Zhu Tianhong nodded. Also, there are some things you don't like, but this is the choice you make in a difficult situation. You can say that I am heartless, but sometimes the Zhu family must sacrifice, otherwise the whole Zhu family will be finished. This is very cruel to them, but if it wasn't for our Zhu family, they wouldn't have lived until now. But if you can get into the top 3, everything will be as you think. They will follow you, and I will not stop you. Not only that, I will give you an even greater reward, and I will also severely punish Deacon Liu and the others. Zhu Tianhong was completely honest with Tianyan, and he didn't beat around the bush. His tone was even very sincere, and he lowered his posture, without any arrogance. It was just that Tianyan didn't like his behavior, but he also knew that this was the logic of big families. Sometimes they could only sacrifice like this, otherwise they would all be finished. Whether they were willing to sacrifice 1 or 2, or all, it was clear. I understand this point. Zhu family head can say it like this. Compared to those who beat around the bush and stab me in the back, it's much better. Tianyan smiled lightly. I, Zhu Tianhong, mean what I say. You can dislike my behavior, but this is my way of survival. I won't stab you in the back. I only care about the benefits you can give me. Zhu Tianhong said indifferently. There are only eternal benefits. There are no eternal friends. As long as you can help me, I can give you what you want. If you can't give me any benefits, then I won't cooperate with you, but I won't fall out with you, and I won't stab you in the back. After all, even if I don't cooperate this time, it doesn't mean I can't cooperate next time. I don't like to provoke others, but sometimes I'm a bit more direct and don't like to beat around the bush. It was really a simple and crude answer, and it wasn't very pleasing, but he said it so bluntly. Obviously, his personality was like this. Whether you like it or not, his behavior was right there. Very good. I like these words. Tianyan didn't want to be on good terms with him, and now he was just making a deal. Chapter 177. At this time, an expert walked over with a few people. When he saw Zhu Tianhong, he smiled and said, Patriarch Zhu, long time no see. I wonder what rank you can get this time? Don't be like last time, getting the top 10. That would be embarrassing. Patriarch Wang, you don't have to worry about this. We know what we're doing. Zhu Tianhong's eyes were cold. His attitude towards Patriarch Wang was very unfriendly. All right then, I hope you can win. Hey, this young man, don't tell me he's the divine rune master you're going to send to participate? When Patriarch Wang saw Yun, he couldn't help but laugh and said, looks really soft and tender. TSK. Is he qualified to be a second-grade divine rune master? Yun was expressionless at the side. It seemed that his sin value was high. It was really easy to attract hatred. He was just standing there and he was pointed out. The system was a bit of a scam, but if he used it, how could he accumulate it? You don't need to know this. Zhu Tianhong snorted coldly. Obviously, he didn't want to expose Yun's secret. Patriarch Zhu, there's no need to be so cold. I'm just giving you a reminder. I suddenly remembered that the helpers you invited before were not very good. Now you even sent such a young one. If Patriarch Zhu doesn't have enough manpower, I can send a few people over. It's better than inviting a young man, right? Patriarch Wang's smile was as despicable as it could be. Obviously, he didn't get along with Patriarch Zhu at all. It's none of your business whether we can bring them out or not. Zhu Tianhong sneered. But compared to the people invited by Patriarch Wang, their level was really a lot lower. Of course, it's none of my business. Anyway, they're at the bottom. It's the same as in previous years. Huh? Patriarch Wang waved his fan and laughed. Let's go in. The competition is about to start. Let's go. Zhu Tianhong's tone was extremely cold. He led his people inside. Yun squinted his eyes and looked at them. The internal relationship of the Star Pavilion was bad. It seemed like it was true. After this little interlude, they all entered the venue. Yun followed him into the venue. There were already many people sitting around. The venue was divided into several areas, and each area was occupied by a family. There were only 5 clans in the entire Stellar Pavilion, but each clan was allowed to send 5 divine inscriptionists to battle. Heirs and helpers were allowed to participate, but the maximum number of people was 5. In total, there were 25 of them. This number wasn't much, but according to what the Wang family head had said before, the Zhu family could only be ranked in the bottom 10 under such circumstances. One could imagine how bad the standard of the Zhu family was. Yun glanced around. There were quite a lot of people, and they didn't look young. The youngest was at least 23 or 24 years old, and the oldest couldn't be more than 30 years old. There was an age restriction in this place. If there was an age restriction, wouldn't they be dead for sure if a Grandmaster of the Divine Inscriptions realm came? This is the family token for you. It represents our Zhu family. Zhu Tianhong gave the token to him. The word Zhu was engraved on the token, representing the Zhu family. This internal competition was judged by the Chief Pavilion Master. He personally checked the comprehensive level of all the branches. In addition, the Chief Pavilion Master's level was not low. He had reached the level of a divine inscriptionist. He was more than enough to be a referee, and he was trustworthy. His cultivation was even more amazing. He had reached the 2nd level of the core transformation stage. This is domineering enough. A Pavilion Master's cultivation has reached core transformation stage. Although it is expected, but it still makes Yun feel a bit shocked. This was the strength of a powerful 3rd-grade force. The family heads present were all at the Spirit Core stage, but they were all at least at the 5th level of the Spirit Core stage. There were also a lot of deacons, and this was just the tip of the iceberg. In terms of comprehensive strength, they were definitely stronger than the Qing Xian Mansion. Being able to run a treasure pavilion, they must be powerful. If they wanted to keep the treasure, they must first be strong, otherwise it would be a crime to have a treasure. Yun took the token, looked up and asked, "Can we know the content of the competition in advance?" Zhu Tianhong shook his head. "This is random. No one knows what the topic is except for the Chief Pavilion Master. No one else will know." While the various families were discussing, an old man walked onto the stage not too far away. There were a few other slightly younger people who followed him onto the stage. At this time, everyone's discussion quickly died down, and in less than a moment, it was completely quiet. This old man was the Chief Pavilion Master of the Star Pavilion, called Li Tianlong. The deacons of the General Pavilion were also not low. They were all 4th-grade divine inscriptionists. It was impossible for Li Tianlong to check all the divine inscriptions, so these deacons could do it. A 5th-grade divine inscriptionist was enough to take on this task, so it was not a big deal. Li Tianlong stood on the high platform and glanced at the crowd. His gaze was so intense that many people were shocked, as expected of someone who cultivated mental strength. There was no need to say anything about the level of his mental strength. Just his gaze alone was enough to kill a group of people in seconds. After a glance, he said in a deep voice, "This internal competition is about to begin. I will now announce the rewards for the top 3. Li Tianlong did not waste too much time and directly announced the rewards for the top 3. The first prize is 5 days of cultivation in the heavenly spiritual jade pool. The second prize is one of my divine inscriptions cultivation insights. The third prize is a soul tool, divine inscriptions brush. The rewards for the top 3 were extremely attractive. The heavenly spiritual jade pool was a cultivation ground. It was said that because too much spiritual energy had gathered in it, it had turned into liquid. One could imagine how much spiritual energy one could absorb by soaking in it for 5 days. It would definitely increase one's cultivation by a level. The reward for the second prize was also not bad. Li Tianlong was a divine inscriptionist grandmaster. His insights were naturally not cheap. Ordinary people really could not ask for it. As for the third place, it was a soul-ranked divine inscription brush. A soul-ranked divine inscription brush was much more expensive than ordinary soul weapons. Tianyin could forge soul tools, but the success rate of forging a soul tool, the divine inscriptions brush, would definitely be greatly reduced. However, Tianyin did not feel anything for the last 2 prizes. So what if they had divine inscriptions cultivation insights? The heavenly eye given by Yi Qingxian was heaven-defying, and those memories were also incomparable to a divine inscriptionist grandmaster. That was the essence of the entire spirit clan. It naturally had a different meaning. Only the first prize was very interested, because if it was filled with spiritual energy, it would mean that the experience points would explode. How could he not be tempted to absorb spiritual energy for 5 days? The first prize is not bad. 5 days of cultivation in the heavenly spiritual jade pool. The second prize is also not bad. The Chief Pavilion Master's cultivation insights are not something that can be obtained even with money. Alright, it's already not bad to enter the top 8, let alone the top 3. Although Tianyin isn't interested, but the others are. Their eyes are bursting with surprise, and they can't wait to win this game. A group of people was already itching for action, waiting for the competition to start. Although only the top 3 prizes were given, the other prizes were also given. It was just that they were internal prizes. Getting a high ranking would bring glory to their family, which was also a point of contention. They did not need to be in the top 3. As long as they could surpass the other families, that would be enough. This was the principle of people needing face and trees needing bark. Chapter 178. The rewards this time are not bad. Zhu Tianong nodded and said to Tianyin, "The rewards for the top 3 are very good. As long as you can get into the top 3, whatever rewards you get will be yours. I won't touch anything." Tianyin nodded. This was one of his conditions. If he refused, then don't blame him for being impolite. After a while of discussion, Li Tianlong finally began to announce the content of the competition. Well, that's all for the rewards. Now, I will announce the content of the first round, the strength of the divine inscription. Li Tianlong glanced at the contestants and said in a deep voice, "Drawing divine inscriptions requires speed, accuracy, and ruthlessness. It cannot be too slow, and there cannot be any deviation. The mental strength released must also be powerful. Otherwise, it will lead to failure." The content of the first round is to compare the strength of the divine inscription. The higher the strength, the more impact it can withstand. I believe everyone is clear about this. Generally, divine inscriptions are used on defensive equipment to withstand attacks. Later, I will send martial artists of different levels to attack. The longer one can withstand the attack, the higher the score. Try your best to study the divine inscription in this area. Don't focus on the grade. Just the longer you can withstand the attack, the better. Li Tianlong emphasized on the strength of the divine inscription. The stronger the divine inscription, the better. Ding! Random chain mission triggered, successfully completed the first round of the competition. Reward: 500,000 experience points, 1,000 divine inscription proficiency points. Etienne's eyes lit up. Interesting. I can trigger this kind of mission and increase my divine inscription proficiency. Not bad. After everyone heard this, their eyes lit up. The content of the competition was quite fair. The strength of the divine inscription on defensive equipment was a kind of enhancement effect. Even a piece of iron, strengthened by a powerful divine inscription, might not be weaker than a spiritual weapon. It might even be stronger than an ordinary spiritual weapon. This was the strength of divine inscriptions. Otherwise, the status of divine inscriptionists would not be so high. The first round is a competition of strength. It is an extremely basic divine inscription. Zhu Tianhong nodded and asked Yi Tianyun, "This shouldn't be a problem for you, right?" "There won't be a problem." Yi Tianyun smiled calmly, his calm tone filled with confidence. Zhu Tianhong nodded his head. As long as one was a divine inscriptionist, they would all know about this. After all, this was the elementary level of divine inscriptions. If one didn't even know about this, then there was nothing more to say. However, there wasn't much meaning to just being able to draw first-grade defensive divine inscriptions. There was no way he would be able to get a high score. Although Li Tianlong said that he didn't need a grade, did he really not need a grade? He only said that the grade of the divine inscription wouldn't add any points, but for a higher grade divine inscription, the resistance would undoubtedly be stronger. Very quickly, they distributed all kinds of defensive equipment. There were armors, shields, and the like. These defensive equipment were distributed one by one, and they could choose it themselves. Most people chose the shield as it was easier to carve the runes on it. Li Tianlong nodded his head gently after everyone had received their defensive equipment. Everyone has received their defensive equipment. The time limit is 2 hours. Those who exceed the time limit will be eliminated. I hope everyone will make good use of the time. As soon as the sound of his voice faded, Li Tianlong signaled the deacon beside him to turn the hourglass upside down. The sand started to flow rapidly. When the sand stopped flowing, it meant that the competition had ended. Those who didn't complete the divine inscription would be eliminated. Although the competition was based on the point system, if one didn't even finish inscribing the divine inscription, how could they still have the qualifications to compete? Hence, even if they inscribed a trashy divine inscription, it was still better than not being eliminated. That would be the most humiliating thing. After the hourglass was turned upside down, all the participants took out the divine inscription brush that they were most proud of and started to inscribe their divine inscriptions. Inscribing divine inscriptions wasn't an easy task. Although 2 hours seemed like a lot, in reality, it wasn't a lot. According to the low-grade divine inscriptions, they could at most fail once. If they failed twice in a row, it would mean that they would be eliminated, because there wasn't enough time to inscribe a third time. Immediately after, everyone focused on inscribing the divine inscriptions, not daring to slack off. Time was really too tight. There was simply no time to do anything else. Etienne's eyes flickered as he also focused on inscribing the divine inscriptions. He couldn't lose here. He had to get into the top 3. They didn't have any free time, but the various clans outside the arena had more time and started to criticize them. Zhu clan head, how many helpers did you invite this time? The Wang clan head couldn't bear the loneliness anymore and asked, I seem to have heard that you invited 2 divine inscriptionists with pretty good standards. Zhu clan head replied in a deep voice, That's right. We invited 2 helpers. Is there a problem? There's no problem. It's just that I invited 2 helpers. They're really not bad. Unfortunately, I can only invite 1 helper. The number of helpers is really too much. His tone didn't feel like he was at a disadvantage at all. Instead, there was a sense of arrogance in his tone. There was a hidden meaning in his words. As expected, a clan head at the side interjected. Wang clan head, what you said is wrong. You only invited 1 helper, but he seems to be from the divine inscription manor, right? As for the 2 helpers you invited, I have no idea where they came from. Are they as famous as the divine inscription manor? Is that so? I thought Zhu clan head also invited a few helpers from the divine inscription manor. For example, that young man, sending him up at such a young age. Could it be that he's not from the divine inscription manor? Wang clan head laughed in disdain. If he's not from the divine inscription manor, Do you dare to invite him up to help? Wong Clan Head, you can't speak such nonsense. Although I've never been to the divine inscription manor, I've never seen such a young disciple. Hence, I dare to conclude that he's not from the divine inscription manor, the clan head mocked. This echoed each other, causing Zhu Clan Head's expression to sink. They were basically teaming up to mock him. They often had conflicts with the Wong clan. This was just the beginning, and they were already provoking him. Wong Clan Head, do you think that the championship this time is already in your bag? Zhu Clan Head coldly snorted. He wasn't someone to be trifled with. I didn't say that, it's just that my chances are slightly higher. Wong Clan Head laughed. How is this humble? On the contrary, it was despicable to the bone. I wonder what Zhu Clan Head, what rank do you think you'll obtain? If the chances were higher, it meant that they would be able to obtain the championship. Even if they didn't obtain the championship, they would at least be within the top 3. With the assistance of the divine inscription manor, the result would naturally be different. I don't know what rank I'll obtain, but I'm sure it won't be any worse than your Wong clan. Zhu Clan Head similarly didn't have much confidence in his heart. However, he couldn't possibly admit defeat here. Hence, he had to endure no matter what. Oh, then I'll have to wait and see. Wong Clan Head coldly laughed. He knew that Zhu Clan Head wouldn't lower his head and admit defeat. As long as the final result wasn't determined, they wouldn't admit defeat. This was the same as before. Zhu Clan Head had to endure no matter what, but in the end, he was still at the bottom. Chapter 179. While there was friction, time flew by, and very quickly, someone had completed their divine inscription. The first to finish was none other than the disciple of the divine inscription manor, Lin Li. He was the first participant to finish inscribing a divine inscription. This caused the eyes of the crowd to brighten. As expected of a genius from the divine inscription manor, to be able to finish so quickly. Wong Clan leader, the helper you found this time around is indeed of a shocking standard. He was the first to finish. The clan leader beside him flattered. Who doesn't know the name of the divine inscription manor? If they can't even do this, how can they be considered as one of the elites among the third-grade powers? The Wong clan leader laughed, feeling extremely comfortable. He didn't forget to glance over at Zhu Tianhong, wanting to see what his expression was like. His expression was extremely gloomy. One couldn't help but admit that their speed was much slower than the others. The few people they invited, including Yi Tianyun, were all extremely slow. They couldn't catch up at all, and the disparity between them was obvious. Lin Li from the divine inscription manor was coincidentally beside Yi Tianyun. When he saw Yi Tianyun carefully inscribing the divine inscription manor, he laughed out loud. I wonder which clan sent him here. He's so young, yet they dared to send him here. I wonder what grade he is. Is he qualified to be a second-grade divine inscriptionist? He couldn't help but mock when he saw how slow Yi Tianyun was inscribing. His eyes were filled with disdain. From the looks of it, Yi Tianyun was still inscribing a first-grade divine inscription. Yi Tianyun didn't even bother with him. He continued inscribing at a speed that was neither fast nor slow. Very quickly, the majority of the participants had completed their divine inscriptions. The few people Zhu Tianhong brought here had also finished. Only Yi Tianyun was still lagging behind. This situation caused Zhu Tianhong to furrow his brows. He had no idea what Yi Tianyun was doing. Strange, what is that brat doing? Why is he so slow? Attendant Lu couldn't help but comment. He was extremely unhappy with Yi Tianyun, but when he saw how slow Yi Tianyun was, he couldn't help but feel even more worried. They only hoped that Yi Tianyun wouldn't be able to enter the top 3, but that didn't mean that he couldn't even enter the top 10. Elder Yi, what are you doing? It looks like it's rather difficult to carve it, asked Zhu Yuxuan. Don't worry, Elder Yi has his reasons. Zhu Yue smiled calmly, not worried at all. She had complete trust in Yi Tianyun and believed that Yi Tianyun would definitely win. Finally, Yi Tianyun finished the last stroke. He put away the divine rune brush and said with a smile, "Not bad." When he said that it was not bad, the others beside him revealed looks of contempt. This was not bad. He was clearly at the bottom, but he was still praising him. Wasn't this feeling of self-satisfaction a little too much? When the last grain of sand flowed out from the hourglass, the time limit for the first round was finally up. The attendants beside Li Tianlong walked down from both sides and started to inspect the participants one by one. No one was eliminated. Everyone had completed their divine inscriptions. No matter how simple the divine inscriptions were, he had to inscribe them. Otherwise, he would truly lose face. Then, they began to test the items according to the order of completion. The first item they picked up was Lin Li's armor. Because he was the first to finish, they started the test from his armor. After picking it up, the attendants checked it and said, "Third grade defensive divine inscription. Start the test now." Third grade defensive divine inscription immediately caused an uproar. As expected of a disciple of the divine inscription mansion, the current level he showed was at least at the level of a third grade divine inscription master. Then several other attendants also picked up third grade divine inscriptions, but the number was very small. They were all second grade divine inscriptions. The first divine inscription that Lin Li inscribed completely crushed their level. Bang! Then, the attendants began to attack the armor. First, they used their body refinement realm cultivation to attack. When they couldn't break the armor, they slowly increased the armor layer by layer to see what level the armor could withstand. In the end, with one punch, Lin Li's armor was broken, showing the level of 7th level of Spirit Refinement Realm. This armor was originally very ordinary. It was just ordinary iron level, but it was able to withstand to the 7th level of Spirit Refinement Realm. It was really extraordinary. Soon, the test results of other people were out. The level was not high. Most of them were at 4th or 5th level of Spirit Refinement Realm. Some were even at 1st or 2nd level of Spirit Refinement Realm. The strength shown by Lin Li caused an uproar in many families. This was really a high level, far beyond the others. The level of Divine Inscription Mansion's disciple is really high, far ahead of other participants. Being able to let Lin Li become a guest of Wang Family Head. Wang Family Head's ability is not small. The patriarch next to him continued to flatter. "It's just a..." Wang Family Head said modestly, but he was already smiling from ear to ear. He couldn't help but look at Zhu Tianhong. His eyes were full of sarcasm. The first level already has such an advantage. What if they continue to compete? The Zhu family will be left far behind. Zhu Tianhong could only remain silent, because he knew that he couldn't refute anything. It would only make his face more swollen. It's just that he felt very strange. Isn't he Tianyin, a 4th grade divine inscription master? Why is his performance so slow? Soon, the results were quickly tabulated. Some even lasted until the 7th or 8th level of body refinement realm. It was really too low level. Not to mention the level of spirit refinement realm. It was really not enough. Not to mention the effect. Most of the divine inscriptions were 2nd grade. 3rd grade divine inscriptions were very few. Even if there was a 3rd grade divine inscription, there was still a big gap between them and Lin Li. They were both 3rd grade divine inscriptions. How could there be such a big gap? This depends on one's engraving technique and the effect of the divine inscription pen. The combination of the two can play a good effect. Finally, it was the Zhu family's turn. The deacon checked for a while and judged 2nd grade divine inscription. Immediately after the test began, the level was still considered to be in line, not particularly outstanding. Zhu family head, the level of the person you invited is not bad. Wang family head said with a smile. This time, it won't be like last time, right? The meaning of this sarcasm was very obvious. It was almost equivalent to pressing Zhu Tianhong to the ground. Humph! Zhu Tianhong snorted coldly. He was too lazy to respond. The gap between them was obvious. What else could he say? Finally, it was Yi Tianyun's turn. The deacon came over to check and said, "1st grade divine inscription?" 1st grade divine inscriptions were not surprising. There were people who had 1st grade divine inscriptions, but that was because they were forced to do so. They failed several times, and seeing that there was not enough time, they could only use this method. The score was a little low, but at least they would not be eliminated. However, from the beginning, Yi Tianyun did not fail. This point was noticed by everyone. They thought that it would at least be 2nd or 3rd grade divine inscriptions. They did not expect that after so long, it would only be a 1st grade divine inscription. As soon as the words came out, The audience was stunned. And then Wong family head laughed. First-grade divine inscription. After so long, you are telling me it is a first-grade divine inscription? Is he here to participate in a competition? I suspect it is a joke. Thinking about it, he looks so young. At most, he is a first-grade divine inscriptionist. It is not surprising at all that he can inscribe a first-grade divine inscription. Zhu Tianhong's face sank. This was still the realm of a fourth-grade divine inscriptionist? Haha. As expected, your level is only at the level of a first-grade divine inscription. Little fellow, don't mess around in this kind of show. Go back and drink milk. If you don't have the ability, don't come out and embarrass yourself. Lin Li laughed. After so long, it was only a first-grade divine inscription. He laughed on the spot. Chapter 180. Many people were already prepared for Yi Tianyun's level, but they didn't expect it to be a first-grade divine rune. They were all stunned, and then they burst into laughter. With so many people watching, it was really embarrassing. Everyone's level was not low, and he only inscribed a first-grade divine rune after such a long time. It was really embarrassing. After all, he had just entered the arena, and everyone thought that Yi Tianyun's level would definitely not be high. They didn't expect it to be so low. Test it. Yi Tianyun gestured to the deacon to test his divine rune. From the beginning to the end, he didn't even look at Lin Li. The deacon shook his head. A first-grade divine rune was so weak that it could be broken with a casual punch. Why would there be a need to test it? If it weren't for the rules, he would have directly given it a score of 1. When the others saw Yi Tianyun's calm expression, they also shook their heads. Where did this kid come from? How could he still be so calm? Bang! The deacon punched heavily at Yi Tianyun's armor. The power was equivalent to the 5th level of the body refinement realm. After the hit, the divine rune on it slightly fluctuated, but it actually did not break. This result made the deacon stunned. It was impossible. Generally, a first-grade divine rune could be broken with this level of cultivation. The others were slightly stunned. They didn't expect that he could still persist. The divine rune brush he used seems to be of a higher level. It's at least a spiritual level. Someone immediately saw that the divine rune brush in Yi Tianyun's hand was a spiritual level divine rune brush. Everyone suddenly realized that it was the divine rune brush. No wonder it couldn't be broken with a punch. It's really a waste of this divine rune brush. Using this divine rune brush to draw a first-grade divine rune is really a waste. Yes, if I used it, it would definitely be stronger. But now it is used to draw a first-grade divine rune. It's really funny. They all shook their heads and felt that it was a great waste. No matter what, they all thought that the Zhu family was too funny. They let a low-level person go on stage and lose face. No wonder. Then I will continue to strengthen it. The deacon nodded and increased the strength of the divine rune brush to the 7th level of the body refinement realm. Bang! He punched it, but it still didn't break. This made the deacon frown. How could it not be broken even after this? That was because the divine rune brush's effects were too good. Continue to strengthen it. Bang! Under the 7th level of the body refinement realm, the defensive divine inscription on the armor was not broken. This time, the others were all stunned. Even with the support of the divine rune brush, it shouldn't be so much stronger, right? This was the standard of the 7th level of the body refinement realm, which was comparable to a 2nd-grade divine inscription. I don't believe it. The deacon who was testing the divine inscription once again strengthened his strength. With each punch, the divine inscription did not break. After increasing the strength to the 9th level of the body refinement realm, the divine inscription still did not break. Immediately afterward, he increased his strength again, reaching the level of 1st level of spirit refinement realm, and heavily punched the divine inscription. Although his fist went down, but the divine inscription did not break. It still remained in its original state, motionless. Shocked, everyone was shocked at this time. A 1st-ranked divine rune was attacked by a 1st-level spirit refinement realm cultivator, but still didn't break. This was simply inconceivable. Was this really a 1st-grade divine imprint? Had he seen wrongly? This time, everyone's mocking smile froze. They could no longer laugh. Is this a 1st-ranked divine inscription? I suspect that I saw wrongly. This is a third-rank divine inscription. Even if it is not a third-rank divine inscription, it is at least a second-rank divine inscription, right? Yes, how can a first-rank divine inscription last so long? Hurry up and check it again. It is definitely a second-rank divine inscription or above. The noise came again. If it was a second-rank divine inscription, then this result is not surprising. The deacon was even more shocked. He did not hold back, but he still couldn't break this divine inscription. What happened? Are you sure it is a first-rank divine inscription? At this time, Li Tianlong, who was sitting on the top, stood up and looked at the deacon. Pavilion Master Li, I am sure that this is a first-rank divine inscription, not a third-rank divine inscription. The deacon smiled bitterly. How could he be wrong? Soon after, Li Tianlong walked down from the top. Normally, he would not need to personally check this test, but now he had no choice but to come down to see what was going on. Li Tianlong came to the side of the armor, and after looking at it from top to bottom, his eyes were filled with shock. He turned to look at Yi Tianyun and said in shock, "This really is a first-rank divine inscription. This is unbelievable. This is indeed a first-rank divine inscription, but the difficulty of inscribing it has already reached the peak of third-rank divine inscription." Li Tianlong commented, "This is not an ordinary first-rank divine inscription. It is a triple first-rank divine inscription. This means that when three first-rank divine inscriptions are fused together, the effect will soar to the level of a third-rank divine inscription. How can an ordinary attack break it?" After Li Tianlong commented, everyone was stunned. The Wang family head was dumbfounded. Zhu Tianhong's eyes widened, and Lin Li's mocking smile froze. All divine inscriptionists have heard of strengthening type divine inscriptions. The more layers of divine inscriptions, the higher the difficulty, and the higher the power. It looked like a first-rank divine inscription, but the difficulty was close to the peak of third-rank divine inscriptions. Ordinary divine inscriptionists would not be able to inscribe it. The precision required was too high, and the slightest deviation would result in failure, with no chance of recovery. Therefore, most divine inscriptionists would rather inscribe third-rank divine inscriptions than attempt to inscribe multiple divine inscriptions. The reason was that if they failed in the middle of inscribing a third-rank divine inscription, they could try again immediately. If the third-rank divine inscription failed, the previous two divine inscriptions would also be destroyed. However, this extremely difficult divine inscription was drawn by Yi Tianyun. Everyone was dumbfounded, and the mockery and ridicule from before had now become a silent reply to them. First-rank divine inscriptions were trash? Then their inscriptions were all trash, including Lin Li's. Li Tianlong's words were absolute, and everyone naturally believed him. However, this news came too suddenly, and it caused everyone to be dumbfounded. You didn't check it carefully at all? This time it was your negligence. Li Tianlong frowned. He almost made a serious mistake. The deacon lowered his head in shame. He just took a casual glance and saw that it was a first-rank divine inscription, but he didn't check it carefully. Who would have thought that it was multiple divine inscriptions? It's not that he didn't know how to inscribe multiple divine inscriptions, but the level of the divine inscriptions here was almost the same. It was unlikely that there would be multiple divine inscriptions, but it actually appeared. There's no need to test this anymore, just give it a full score. It's not too difficult to withstand the attack of 8th level Spirit Refinement Realm. I didn't expect that there would really be multiple divine inscriptions. This is our mistake, but the full score can only be 10 points, otherwise I would definitely give you 12 points. Li Tianlong directly gave a full score, and it couldn't be higher. The rules have been set, so it's not easy to change it. Li Tianlong looked at Yi Tianyun with satisfaction and smiled. You're the contestant sent by Zhu family, right? Not bad. This result made everyone's eyes widen. Previously, they mocked Yi Tianyun for using a spirit tool level divine rune pen as a waste, but now they were all silent, and no one dared to say a word. Multiple divine inscriptions. It takes a very high talent to inscribe them. Chapter 181. Wang Clan Leader, the little friend we invited is indeed a first-grade divine imprint. However, it's a multi-layered one. How do you feel about it? Zhu Tianhong immediately began to mock and slap their faces. Just now, They were all mocking them fiercely. Now, it was his turn to mock them. He had to pay for what he had done. Zhu Tianhong immediately laughed out loud. He had thought that Yi Tianyan was a fake, but now it seemed that he was the real deal. Zhu Yue and Zhu Yuxuan were pleasantly surprised. This was their elder Yi's strength. How is this possible? How can he inscribe so many powerful inscriptions at such a young age? The Wang clan leader's countenance sank. How could such a young man have such shocking talent? In the audience, Lin Li, who was at the side, exclaimed in shock. How is this possible? It's so difficult to inscribe so many divine inscriptions. How did you manage to inscribe them? The disdain in his eyes had long turned into shock. He was deeply shocked by Yi Tianyan's situation. I can only inscribe first-grade divine inscriptions. It seems like I have to go back and drink milk to cultivate. But if I have to go back and drink milk, what about you? Should I go back to my mother's womb and start over again? Yi Tianyan glanced at Lin Li. His tone was calm, but it had a strong impact on Lin Li's face. What did you say? Lin Li was infuriated by Yi Tianyan's words, but he could not teach him a lesson here, so he could only glare at him. I didn't say anything. I'm just telling the truth. I'm just repeating what you just said. Yi Tianyan smiled indifferently. This Lin Li was used to being arrogant. Did he think that he could mock others as he pleased just because he was the strongest? He had always been the one who was disrespectful to him, so don't blame him for being impolite. If he still wanted to drink milk, then Lin Li could go back to his mother's womb. Don't be so smug. I don't know how you cultivate, but I know how to use multiple divine inscriptions. Lin Li refused to admit defeat. Don't think that you're the only one who knows how to use them. There are still a few more to come. He didn't know what level Yi Tianyan was at, so he didn't dare to mock him anymore. He decided to wait and see. He didn't expect that a freak would appear out of nowhere and directly use multiple divine inscriptions to suppress him. Qin Wentian had cultivated in many different types of divine inscriptions before, but he wasn't too familiar with them. The precision required was too high, and he had to perfectly execute the word quasi before he could inscribe it perfectly. If he failed, the consequences would be unsightly. Normally, without absolute confidence, he wouldn't dare to play like this. In this match, Yi Tianyan had slapped his opponents in the face with his strongest performance. He had obtained a perfect score and immediately attracted the attention of many people. He had displayed an outstanding standard in this round. Would he be able to maintain it in the next round? Who knows, he might only be able to inscribe first-grade divine inscriptions. Although there were multiple types of divine inscriptions, ultimately, they were still first-grade divine inscriptions. Multiple divine runes. Can it resist the attack of 8th-level spirit refinement realm? Yi Tianyan is quite satisfied with this result. This armor is engraved with multiple divine runes, but it doesn't mean that it can't withstand the attack of an 8th-level spirit refinement realm cultivator. But relatively speaking, it can withstand a few attacks, and after a few more attacks, it will definitely collapse. Soon, the first round was over. Yi Tianyan won the first place with a perfect score. The second place was Lin Li, but Lin Li also got a perfect score, so they were evenly matched. However, in terms of level, Yi Tianyan was indeed slightly better. After the first round, the second round began. In the first round, someone won the first place with a very good level of multiple divine inscriptions. This is something I didn't expect. Li Tianlong was talking about Yi Tianyan. After glancing at the crowd, he continued, in the second round, I will slightly change the rules and content so that the score will not be so rigid. At least, it won't be the same as the first round. After all, the situation of each family is different, which makes me feel very gratified. The division is getting stronger and stronger, which is a good thing for our Star Pavilion. As soon as he said this, several of the deacons' faces changed slightly, which means that the content will be changed. Many people's face changed slightly because the content has changed. There is no secret. These deacons can know the content of the second round in advance. Therefore, many people in the family spent a lot of money to get the information from these deacons. Now that the content of the second round has changed, it's possible that the content of the second round will be changed, making their money directly go down the drain. And the thing that changed all of this is Yi Tianyan, who was ridiculed before, which made them feel very uncomfortable. If the content changed, the previous intensive training will obviously be in vain. Now, they can only pray in their hearts that there will not be any change in the content, just a little change in the rules. As the chief pavilion master, unless Li Tianlong is specially biased towards a family, otherwise, no amount of bribery will be useful. As a divine rune grandmaster and the most powerful chief pavilion master, who can bribe him? After pondering for a moment, he said, "The content of the second round is to test speed. The more divine runes you successfully inscribe within an hour, the higher the score. Regardless of the grade, the lower the grade, the lower the score, and the higher the grade, the higher the score. A first-grade divine rune is worth 1 point. A second-grade divine rune is worth 2 points. A third-grade divine rune is worth 5 points. And a fourth-grade divine rune is worth 10 points. There is no upper limit for the score." The content of the second round was also very simple. The key to the second round was the word fast. After the spectators heard it, the content of the second round changed drastically. Previously, the rules stated that the person who inscribed the divine inscription in the shortest amount of time, and the higher the grade of the divine inscription, the higher the score. This means that a low-grade divine rune won't work at all. Even if a first-grade divine rune was successfully inscribed within a second, because the grade was too low, it would still be counted as 1 point, so there was not much meaning to it. But now it was different. The content was still the same as before, but the content was completely different. This is a competition to see who can inscribe more divine runes within the same amount of time, and this has undoubtedly become a battle for points. This is to consider the allocation of time, and there is not much meaning to blindly inscribing high-grade divine runes. If everyone can only inscribe a third-grade divine rune, and inscribe one in 2 hours, then they can only get 5 points. If they can inscribe 3 second-grade divine runes in one go within 2 hours, then they can directly rush to 6 points and directly crush third-grade divine runes. This depends on the proficiency level. If the speed of inscribing high-grade divine runes is similar to the speed of inscribing second-grade divine runes, then third-grade divine runes will undoubtedly be the priority. Although the changes have changed, everyone felt that it is still acceptable. Ding! Successfully completed Chain Mission 1. Reward: 500,000 experience points, 1,000 divine rune proficiency points. Ding! Successfully accepted Chain Mission 2. Complete the second round of competition. Reward: 500,000 experience points, 1,000 divine rune proficiency points. Chapter 182. This is the first time I've seen a chain mission like this. But this feeling isn't bad, the more the better. Yi Tianyin was quite satisfied with the proficiency level of his divine inscriptions, but it would be even better if it was even higher. From the intermediate level to the advanced level, the proficiency level required wasn't low, but it wasn't considered high either. It would only require 10,000 divine inscriptions. However, reaching the advanced level wasn't his goal. What he needed was to reach the standard of a grandmaster, and the proficiency level required for that would definitely not be low. For the second round, the difficulty level isn't that high, but rather, it's a test of speed. Yi Tianyin narrowed his eyes. There were so many types of tests, and it was truly a test of their standards. To him, this wasn't a difficult task, and he could easily deal with it. As the participants heaved a sigh of relief, Li Tianlong continued, "This round isn't just a test of one's proficiency level, but also the strength of one's mental energy. Make good use of your time to grasp this round. Who knows, there might be some who would be able to display their prowess and obtain a higher score." His words weren't targeted at a specific person, but rather everyone. There were some who could inscribe second-grade divine inscriptions at an extremely fast speed. Basically, they could inscribe tens of second-grade divine inscriptions within 2 hours. While he was speaking, the participants had already decided what grade of divine inscription they wanted to inscribe. They would naturally choose the divine inscription they were most proficient with, and not the higher the grade the better. Pavilion Lord Li, what about multi-level divine inscriptions? Are there any bonus points? At this moment, a participant inquired. Of course there are. For example, the multi-level divine inscriptions from before were all equivalent to third-grade divine inscriptions in terms of difficulty. Li Tianlong lightly laughed. But this will take up a lot of time. If you want to do this, you have to consider it carefully. The probability of failure is so high. Why not inscribe a simpler one? The rules were basically announced. There were many aspects to this round, and it was truly a test of one's comprehensive ability. After which, the attendants took out a piece of paper and distributed it to the participants. This time around, they didn't inscribe the divine inscription on the armor, but on the piece of paper instead. Inscribing the divine inscription on the divine inscription paper and pasted it onto a weapon or armor could achieve the same effect. It was just that after he finished inscribing the divine imprints, these divine imprints would be taken back, and he would be able to earn another sum of income. I'm really looking forward to seeing you continue inscribing those many first-grade divine imprints. Lin Li mocked. He actually hoped that Yi Tianyin would continue to play like this. Otherwise, he would be courting death. Based on the previous speed, Yi Tianyin was definitely done for. He had only completed one after so long. If he did that, he would definitely fall behind in the second round. Don't worry, I'm not as stupid as you, Yi Tianyin replied indifferently, angering the other side half to death. Then I'd like to see what grade you can draw. Lin Li didn't believe that Yi Tianyin had really reached the realm of a third-grade divine inscriptionist. Could it be that he really came from a hidden clan? After all, he looked too young. He was the youngest here, so how could anyone believe him? After everyone was ready, Li Tianlong gestured to the deacon beside him to flip the hourglass again. The hourglass countdown started again. At the start of the second round, everyone started inscribing, releasing their mental energy to the maximum. Regardless of whether it was concentration or strength, this round was much stronger than the first round. The first round had more time, and many people were able to inscribe their divine imprints smoothly. However, this round was different. This was a crucial point. If they were slower by even half a beat, they would fall behind by a huge margin. At this moment, many gazes fell on Yi Tianyin. They wanted to see what grade of divine imprint he would draw. If he continued to inscribe a first-grade divine imprint, it would be too hilarious. What was the point of successfully inscribing a first-grade divine imprint? If he succeeded, he would only get 1 point. This was too low. After Yi Tianyin put his brush down, the divine imprint that appeared in front of everyone's eyes was indeed a first-grade divine imprint. He inscribed it unhurriedly, and it landed on the paper. It's still a first-grade divine imprint. Everyone was stunned. They had thought that it would at least be a second-grade divine imprint. Who would have thought that it would still be a first-grade divine imprint? Other than him, the lowest-grade divine imprint was a second-grade divine imprint. The Wang clan head burst into laughter. He pointed at Yi Tianyin and said, "It seems like he really only knows how to inscribe first-grade divine imprints. No wonder he could inscribe so many first-grade divine imprints. If he could only inscribe first-grade divine imprints, he would definitely be able to learn this move." Yeah, a first-grade divine imprint is too low. That Lin Li inscribed a third-grade divine imprint, and if he succeeded, he would get 5 points. That's equivalent to inscribing 5 first-grade divine imprints, the Wang clan head added as he looked at Yi Tianyin with a mocking gaze. From their point of view, the representative of the Zhu clan had completely revealed his level. He was unable to inscribe high-grade divine imprints. He actually continued to inscribe first-grade divine imprints. Previously, I suspected that he was not a beginner, but a third-grade divine imprint master. But now I'm wrong. He really only knows how to inscribe first-grade divine imprints. After Lin Li saw this, he was stunned for a moment before bursting into laughter. This was really too stupid. How many divine imprints did he have to inscribe before he could catch up to them? Zhu Tianhong, who was standing at the side, was also stunned. Previously, he was filled with confidence in Yi Tianyin. Now, his confidence had completely sunk. If he continued to inscribe first-grade divine imprints, could it be that he couldn't even inscribe second-grade divine imprints? The surrounding audience started to voice their doubts. He's still continuing to inscribe first-grade divine imprints? Could it be that he really only knows how to inscribe first-grade divine imprints? That's true. Otherwise, why would he still inscribe first-grade divine imprints? I thought he was a hidden genius. Who would have thought that he would be a burden who had been focusing on first-grade divine imprints for 100 years, only practicing first-grade divine imprints? Yet he could inscribe multiple first-grade divine imprints. They were about to burst into laughter. If this continued, how are they going to catch up? From the looks of it, Yun did not change his strategy. He was really going to continue inscribing first-grade divine imprints. Sister, this Elder E is really going to continue inscribing first-grade divine imprints. Is he still able to play so many tricks on first-grade divine imprints? Could it be that he wants to continue inscribing multiple divine imprints, but that doesn't seem to be worth it? I'm not too sure about this. I really can't understand Elder Yi's thoughts. Since he chose to continue inscribing first-grade divine imprints as the standard for the competition, he must have his reasons. Zhu Yue nodded. In her heart, she had no doubts about this. Chapter 183. Yun continued to inscribe first-grade divine inscriptions. It could be said that this was within their expectations. They felt that Yun would only be able to inscribe first-grade divine inscriptions. Only by madly practicing inscribing first-grade divine inscriptions would one be able to inscribe multiple first-grade divine inscriptions. If not, how could one succeed on the first try? It was fine to play like this in the first match, but if he continued to play like this in the second match, he would be courting death. Unless he could inscribe multiple divine imprints of the first grade at an even faster speed, there was no way he could catch up to the score of the others. For example, in the first round, he had spent almost 2 hours inscribing a divine rune of the first grade. According to the score, he could only get 5 points. It was just that at the same time as obtaining 5 points, the others would definitely be able to inscribe at least 2 or 3 third-grade divine inscriptions. Hence, they would be able to obtain 15 points, directly widening the gap between them. There was no way to catch up. Initially, they thought that Yun was just casually inscribing inscriptions. But later on, they discovered that they were all wrong. Yun was really inscribing first-grade divine inscriptions one by one. His speed was neither fast nor slow. According to this speed, he would only be able to draw 5 or 6 pieces at most when the time was up, which meant he would only be able to get 5 or 6 points. This score was simply too low. Li Tianlong was stunned when he saw this. Then, he shook his head and sighed deeply. He had thought that Yun's proficiency would be very high, hence he specially modified it. But who would have thought that Yun only knew how to inscribe first-grade divine inscriptions? This was truly too disappointing. Did I make a mistake? Li Tianlong felt that those who were able to inscribe multiple divine inscriptions definitely wouldn't be too weak. Although inscribing one more divine inscriptions would allow one to reach such a standard, to be able to inscribe so many divine inscriptions continuously, it meant that one must have a strong foundation of mental energy. This was because the amount of mental energy required to inscribe a third-level divine inscription far surpassed the amount of mental energy required to inscribe 3 first-grade divine inscriptions. In fact, the amount of mental energy required to inscribe 3 first-grade divine inscriptions was even comparable to the amount of mental energy required to inscribe third-grade divine inscriptions. There were quite a few people who thought highly of him, but now they all felt that they had misjudged him. It seemed like he was just a participant with a decent foundation. Judging from his age, he would have many opportunities in the future, but he was afraid that he would not be able to do so now. Yun's countenance was still as calm as ever, as though he wasn't affected by the commotion in the surroundings. He was completely focused on inscribing a first-grade divine imprint. A moment later, a bright light shone in front of his eyes, and a faint smile appeared on his face. It's almost done. It feels much better than before. The next moment, the divine rune brush in his hand emitted a blinding glow, and its speed increased by a few times. Swish, swish, swish. The divine rune paper glowed faintly as he inscribed with the divine rune brush in his hand. In just a short while, he had completed a first-grade divine rune. Its speed was several times faster than before, and it was still increasing exponentially. This situation was swiftly noticed by the others, as they stared dumbfoundedly at Yun. It was simply too fast, They had never seen someone inscribing a first-grade divine inscription with such speed. With a swoosh, one was successfully produced. Then, with another swoosh, another was successfully produced. In less than the time it took for a joss stick to burn, he had already produced 5 to 6 divine runes. Compared to the others, he had produced 5 to 6 divine runes before even a single one was completed. This was already equivalent to a third-grade divine rune. What's going on? His speed has suddenly increased. Yeah, isn't this speed a little too ridiculous? It's too terrifying. In the blink of an eye, he has already inscribed 7 to 8 divine runes. My God, this is faster than the third-grade divine runes of the others. And they haven't even finished. They were all shocked, as they had witnessed something unbelievable. This was just like the first round. They had initially thought that Tianyin would be at the bottom, but now it seemed that if he maintained the speed, he wouldn't be able to easily clinch first place. Linley had also noticed the situation here, and his originally happy heart sank to the bottom. This was simply illogical. Wasn't the speed at which he was inscribing a first-grade divine rune a little too fast? It had completely surpassed the word fast in this round. Li Tianlong was stunned, and he couldn't help but stand up from his chair. He stared blankly at the crazy speed of Tianyin's inscription, and he muttered, "It's too fast. How proficient does he have to be able to inscribe at such a speed?" "I'm sorry, there's no more divine rune paper. Please add more divine rune paper." Tianyin suddenly raised his hand, gesturing to the attendant beside him to add more divine rune paper. At this moment, there was already a stack of divine rune inscribed in his hand. There weren't many, but there were already more than 10 of them. He had used up all the divine rune paper given to him. Generally speaking, a dozen pieces of divine wood paper would be enough to inscribe in an hour. He didn't expect a freak to appear. It wasn't even half the time, and he had already finished inscribing. "Oh, okay." The attendant recovered from the shock and hurriedly replaced the divine rune paper with a new one. Immediately after, Tianyin immersed himself in inscribing again. The swoosh-swoosh sounds were incomparably smooth. In the blink of an eye, a first-grade divine rune had been freshly inscribed. There was no difficulty at all. This is too abnormal. How are we supposed to compete? Even if it's only 1 point, based on this speed, he has already surpassed us. So a first-grade divine rune can be played like this. I was wrong. The surrounding contestants shook their heads. There was no way they could compete with Lin Li, and this refreshed their common sense. So what if it was a first-grade divine rune? He could still get a high score. It could be said that if there were not enough points, the quantity would make up for it. What's going on? How can he inscribe so fast? Lin Li's expression was ugly, and his hands moved a little faster. Unexpectedly, with a bang, the divine rune paper caught fire. This meant that he had failed, and a third-grade divine rune was ruined just like that. May I ask, is this purposely showing mercy? Tianyin looked over and asked indifferently. Lin Li almost exploded in anger, but he still suppressed it. He had failed because of this matter. He couldn't be bothered to reply and continued to inscribe seriously. Even if he failed, he had to win back some points. Time passed slowly, and 2 hours passed quickly. When the hourglass had just emptied, the attendant at the side immediately shouted, "Stop!" At this time, everyone stopped their divine rune brushes. Regardless of whether they had finished inscribing or not, they all had to put down their brushes. At this time, there was already a thick stack of inscribed divine runes beside Tianyin's hand. Compared to the thin ones that the others had, this stack was really too thick. Chapter 184. Everyone looked at the thick stack of divine runes that Tianyin had finished inscribing. They were shocked. This was the first time they saw a divine rune master inscribing so quickly. His speed was simply too fast. It was unbelievable. Initially, Tianyin was not very proficient. After all, he had mainly inscribed third-grade divine runes before. Now that he was inscribing first-grade divine runes, he was a little rusty. He could succeed, but it was a little slow. After familiarizing himself with the process, his speed increased immediately. It was the same for the 3 first-grade divine runes. If it wasn't for his lack of proficiency, he would have spent a lot of time. We'll start counting the scores now. Li Tianlong recovered from his shock and gestured for the other deacons to check the numbers so that they could evaluate the scores. After that, they all walked down and began to tally the points. Very quickly, it was Lin Li's turn. After the numbers were tallied, the administrator nodded and announced, a total of 3 third-grade divine inscriptions, 15 points. A total of 2 third-grade divine runes and 2 second-grade divine runes, 14 points in total. Not bad. This was the score of one of the contestants. A total of 2 third-grade divine runes, 2 second-grade divine runes, and 1 first-grade divine rune, 15 points in total. Your score is not bad. This was the score of another contestant. This score was almost the same as Lin Li's. In fact, if Lin Li hadn't failed, he would have gotten 20 points. No one else could surpass Lin Li. Lin Li felt insulted. He could have gotten 20 points, but he didn't expect that someone else would be on the same level as him. Wasn't this a humiliation? He was a disciple of the divine rune manor. How could his status be compared to theirs? Then, the scores were announced one by one. Most of the contestants were around 10 points. There were no high scores. Finally, it was time to count Etienne's score. The deacon took a thick stack of divine runes and counted them. With a trembling voice, he announced, 32 first-grade divine runes, 32 points in total. When the score was announced, everyone's heart trembled violently. This was far more than the score of the second-place contestant. If Lin Li hadn't failed, he would only have gotten 20 points, which was still 12 points higher than him. The difference was 2 third-grade divine runes. How was Lin Li going to fill the gap? When everyone heard this news, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. Wasn't this a little too heaven-defying? Although it was easier to inscribe first-grade divine inscriptions, to be able to inscribe 32 of them in such a short period of time was already considered a top-tier ability. Wang family head, thank you for letting me win. This round, our Zhu family has won again. Zhu Tianhong naturally would not forget to mock the Wang clan. Who asked them to mock him before? However, his heart finally calmed down. This Etienne really made people tremble in fear. It was really unexpected. First, he made people fall to the bottom, and then he was thrown up high. This was definitely a genius. There's still one more round. Don't celebrate too early. When the Wang family head said these words, he didn't have much confidence in his heart. Right now, Etienne's score was already 12 points away from the second place. How could he catch up? Is that so? Not to mention one more round. Even if there are 2 more rounds, our Zhu family would still win. Zhu Tianhong said with a smile. The Wang family head muttered in his heart. Previously, when Etienne was inscribing first-grade divine inscriptions, someone had an extremely ugly expression on his face. If the next round is for high-grade divine inscriptions, I think he will continue to inscribe first-grade divine inscriptions. If he has the ability to inscribe 4th-grade divine inscriptions, I'll be convinced. The Wang family head snorted coldly. He was unwilling to admit defeat even if he died. The difficulty of inscribing 4th-grade divine inscriptions was extremely high. It was even higher than inscribing ordinary 4th-grade divine inscriptions. Hence, doing this was a strenuous and unrewarding task. No one was willing to do it. In terms of difficulty, even a 5th-grade divine inscriptionist wouldn't dare to do it. The more layers of divine inscriptions one tried, the higher the chances of failure. It would be better to inscribe 4th-grade divine inscriptions directly. He definitely knows high-grade divine inscriptions. Who said that he must inscribe first-grade divine inscriptions? Zhu Tianhong immediately retorted. He didn't believe that Etienne only knew first-grade divine inscriptions. Is that so? Let's wait and see. The Wang family head didn't believe it. Even if Etienne knew high-grade divine inscriptions, Lin Li could also do it. While the commotion continued, Etienne's side was filled with joy. Zhu Yue and Zhu Yuxuan were extremely excited. Their elder Yi was indeed amazing. Elder Yi won again, and his score was much higher than the second place. This time, we will definitely be first. Yeah, Elder Yi is too amazing. I didn't expect him to be such an amazing divine inscriptionist. Zhu Yue and Zhu Yuxuan's beautiful eyes twinkled. Looking at Yi Tianyun on the stage, the light in their eyes became more and more obvious. Who wouldn't like an outstanding genius? Impossible, you. How can you inscribe so fast? Lin Li was extremely shocked. He couldn't believe this speed. A divine inscriptionist who wasn't from the divine inscription manor could defeat him. This made him feel a great humiliation. He carried the glory of the divine inscription manor on his back, but he lost to a divine inscriptionist who was so much younger than him? Didn't you say that I focused on first-grade divine inscriptions? Yi Tianyun smiled faintly. But it's true. So what if I focused on first-grade divine inscriptions? Didn't I still win? Go back to your mother's womb and cultivate for a few more years. Yi Tianyun's words almost made Lin Li vomit blood. Who would have thought that Yi Tianyun could really continue to use first-grade divine inscriptions to suppress him? This was equivalent to giving him a ruthless stab in the back to his mocking words. Yi Tianyun was this kind of person. If he provoked him, he would pay it back tenfold. After the scores were tabulated, Li Tianlong nodded his head in satisfaction. The results this time are very pleasantly surprising. To be able to inscribe a first-grade divine inscription at such a speed, it's impossible without an extremely high level of precision. Every single stroke, a single mistake would result in failure. If I were to do it, I reckon that my speed wouldn't be as fast. Li Tianlong's words caused an uproar among the crowd. Li Tianlong was a divine inscriptionist master, yet he said that his speed was about the same as Yi Tianyun's. This was shocking. However, this is indeed beyond my expectations. Even if the score is low, if the speed is fast, it's true that you can turn the tables. Li Tianlong's smile quickly turned solemn. However, the next round will be the real test of your standards. Do your best and display your strongest divine runes. You will be awarded points based on the grade and complexity of the divine runes. This time, there is no upper limit to the number of points you can get. The real chance to turn the tables has arrived. Only those with strength can stay until the end. Those without strength are destined to be eliminated, Li Tianlong said solemnly. This time, it was finally time to test one's true strength. The higher the grade, the higher the score. Within the same grade, the difficulty was divided into low, medium, and high. For example, some divine inscriptions that increased the power of weapons were considered medium difficulty. Naturally, the score would not be low. Everything depended on the rarity of the divine inscription. This wasn't just a test of one's cultivation level, but also one's wealth. Just because some divine inscriptions were rare, it didn't mean that others knew them. This was the key to surpassing others. Chapter 185. Ding. Successfully completed the second round of competition. Obtained 500,000 experience points, 1,000 proficiency points of divine inscriptions mastery. He had obtained a perfect victory and obtained this perfect reward. The experience was quite generous, but the proficiency was the most important. A satisfied smile appeared on Yi Tianyun's face. It was merely inscribing a first-grade divine imprint. It really wasn't much. If it was a high-grade divine imprint, he could easily inscribe it. However, he loved to slap their faces, ruthlessly slap their faces. Keeping a low profile and doing things in a high profile was his philosophy. Not bad at this rate. It wouldn't be a problem for me to break through to the advanced divine inscriptions. Yi Tianyun's eyes flickered. Li Tianlong was very gratified by everyone's enthusiasm. He smiled again. I'm still very happy that you all still have such fighting spirit. After all, I'm very gratified that you all still have such continuous fighting strength after the previous battle. The sudden change in the content of the previous match caught many people off guard, but they still persevered. After going through the previous test, most people were already showing signs of fatigue, so this test was even more of a test of everyone's endurance. For those who didn't have sufficient stamina, there was a possibility that they would fail when inscribing the divine inscriptions they were most proficient in. Hence, changing the second stage to a battle of attrition was something that had been considered carefully. Everyone's starting line was the same. It all depended on who had the strongest endurance. Let's roughly announce the scores. First grade divine inscriptions. The difficulty of inscribing are 1, 2, 3 points. Second grade divine inscriptions. The difficulty of inscribing are 4, 5, 6 points. Third grade divine inscriptions. The difficulty of inscribing are 5, 8, 10 points. Fourth grade divine inscriptions. The difficulty is 20, 40, 60 points. When it came to grade 4 divine inscriptions, the score skyrocketed, jumping up to 20 points in one go. The intermediate difficulty was 40 points. For example, if he could inscribe a high-grade 4th grade divine inscription, he would be awarded 60 points. All the points in front would be filled up. This is only the difference in difficulty. If someone is able to inscribe more divine runes, the score will naturally be different. Now, this is only the most basic score. When you have inscribed the corresponding divine runes, we will announce the score separately. However, the score will definitely be higher than you can imagine. Li Tianlong looked at them and said with a faint smile, "Therefore, you should give it your all. The higher the grade, the better. Whether you can turn the tables or not depends on this last round." There were only 3 matches here, no more, no less. This was not a martial arts competition. The consumption of mental energy was not something that could be easily recovered by eating a pill. Pills that could effectively recover mental energy consumption were simply too rare and expensive. It was obviously not worth it to use it in this competition. Everyone nodded. They were already clear about this rule. They would do their best to fight for it. How many rankings they could get would depend on this gamble. Ding! Successfully accepted the 3rd chain mission, perfect victory in the 3rd stage. Reward: 500,000 experience points, 1,000 divine inscriptions proficiency points. The reward was still the same. There was no change, but it was enough for him. Very well, since everyone is clear, I won't say any more. There will be a little more time this time, 10 hours. Make good use of these 10 hours. Li Tianlong said. 10 hours was already a long time. Even if he failed during this period, he would be able to react quickly and try again. Perhaps he could take a good rest and carefully inscribe after a period of time. This was not a bad idea. Then, an even bigger hourglass was brought out. This was a 10-hour process. After it was brought out, it was violently flipped over, signifying the official start of the competition. After flipping it over, everyone started to inscribe. Some chose to meditate and rest. If you have the ability this time, why don't you try to inscribe a 1st grade divine inscription? Lin Li looked coldly at Yi Tianyan. He did not believe that Yi Tianyan would continue to inscribe a 1st grade divine inscription this time. A 1st grade divine inscription was so low. Unless it was a multi-grade divine inscription, and it was at least a 4-grade divine inscription, the points would explode. If he continued to inscribe a 3-grade divine inscription, according to this definition, it would at most be 10 points. What does the grade of divine inscription I inscribe have to do with you? Yi Tianyan did not continue to pay attention to him. Instead, he meditated on the spot and closed his eyes to recover. He did not choose to inscribe a divine inscription immediately. Lin Li was exasperated. He had nowhere to vent his anger. If not for the fact that there were so many people here, he would have exploded. After that, he could not be bothered to speak anymore. He also meditated to recover and did not intend to inscribe immediately. In the previous battle, he had expended a lot of energy. Hence, most of them chose to meditate to recover. After recovering a little, they would inscribe their highest grade divine inscription in one go. In the blink of an eye, 4 hours passed. Many of the participants had already gotten up to inscribe their divine inscriptions. Some only started after 6 hours. Lin Li only stood up to inscribe the divine weave after the 6th hour had passed. His actions quickly attracted everyone's attention. They wanted to see what grade of divine inscription Lin Li was going to inscribe. They all chose to rest for 6 hours before starting. Even if they failed, they would still have time to inscribe another divine inscription. A few of the participants who had performed better earlier were in the crowd's range of attention. This time, the one with the most outstanding performance was not Lin Li, but the girl beside him. Look, isn't the divine inscription inscribed by the Hua family's helper a little strange? Yeah, everyone else's is glowing gold, but hers is glowing red. It doesn't look like an ordinary divine inscription. Many people turned their attention to the girl. They realized that the divine inscription she was inscribing was very special. The light it emitted was clearly different from the others. More and more people turned their attention to her. After all, this divine inscription was a little special. At this time, the girl's forehead was covered in sweat. She gritted her teeth and continued inscribing. The divine inscription brush in her hand was about to break. The red light became more and more obvious. Tianyun focused his attention on her. This girl was not extremely beautiful, but she was rather delicate. She gave off a very clean and clear feeling. Her slender hands inscribed on the divine inscription paper at a moderate speed. If I remember correctly, she should be called Ichianan? Tianyun had heard someone call her before. She was the helper invited by the Hua family. He did not know where she was from, but she seemed to be quite skilled. She had scored 15 points before, tied with Lin Li. Oh, this is a little interesting. A third-grade divine inscription with multiple attributes, and an improved version at that. How rare. Li Tianlong's eyes lit up. He was the judge of this round. He had stood up early and walked down. When he saw He Qianhan inscribing the divine inscription, he paid a little more attention. This flashing red light was not a plaything. It was the power of the fire attribute. This was an attribute divine inscription. When placed on a weapon, it would directly strengthen the weapon to the fire attribute. It was a third-grade divine inscription with a high difficulty. This was not just a simple third-grade divine inscription, but multiple third-grade divine inscriptions. It seemed like she wanted to strengthen it to the second grade, at least to strengthen the fire attribute by a level. Multiple divine inscriptions were very precious. A weapon could only be inscribed with one type of divine inscription. Hence, the choice of divine inscription was extremely important. Not only did it have to be a good divine inscription, but it also had to be multiple divine inscriptions. Only then would the value be higher. Now, He Qianhan's performance was very eye-catching. It seemed like she was really going to complete a third-grade divine inscription with dual attributes. Her score would be directly comparable to a fourth-grade divine inscription. This meant that if she completed it, she would get 20 points. Chapter 186. Many people no longer paid attention to the divine inscriptions of others. Instead, they were all focused on Lin Li and the rest. Now that He Qianhan had appeared, the top three seemed even more mysterious. Tianyun paid more attention to He Qianhan. He Qianhan's level wasn't low, but he didn't know which sect came to help her. Her level is not bad. I wonder where did she come from? Or was she trained by the Hua family? How can the Hua family train such a talented divine rune master? She doesn't look old. Only in her 20s. I really don't know where she came from. She is not trained by the Hua family. She was invited by the Heaven's Top Mansion. Heaven's Top Mansion? That declining Heaven's Top Mansion? They finally understood He Qianhan's true identity. They didn't expect the declining Heaven's Top Mansion to appear here to help the Hua clan in the competition. Heaven's Top Mansion? Tianyun was stunned. He didn't expect He Qianhan to be from the Heaven's Top Mansion. Thinking about it carefully, the declining Heaven's Top Mansion needed resources to develop. So having a good relationship with the Star Pavilion was undoubtedly the best choice. As time passed, the divine marks they inscribed gradually took shape. But at this critical moment, He Qianhan's hand began to tremble slightly. Apparently, it was not stable enough, and she didn't know how to continue drawing. Obviously, she was still experimenting in this aspect, and she didn't know how to use it. This time, she had to give it her all. If she wanted to get a good ranking, she had to give it her all. But in the end, she didn't know how to continue drawing, and if she made a mistake, everything would be over. She's almost finished. Her hand began to tremble. It's not stable enough. She's about to fail. If she fails, she can only choose a second-grade divine rune. If she chooses second-grade divine rune, she won't be able to get into the top three. All of them shook their heads. This was the result of not having sufficient standards, yet still trying to force things. At that time, they wouldn't even be able to successfully inscribe a third-grade divine inscription. Seeing this situation, Wang family head showed a comforting smile. He didn't want to see anyone who could compete with Lin Li. Is it really going to end? He Qianhan stared at the divine inscription in front of her. Her vision gradually blurred. She was almost unable to see the direction of the divine inscription. Calm down. The key to this divine inscription is the inner line. Just overlap it with the outer line. This way, the effect of the fire attribute can achieve the overlapping effect. At this moment, a voice drifted over. Turning her head, wasn't that the young man who inscribed the first-grade divine imprint earlier? After listening to it, it was as if he was suddenly enlightened, and his thoughts became clear. In the next moment, the divine rune brush in her hand stabilized, and it no longer swayed. Following that, she started drawing frantically. Every stroke was steady and steady. Very soon, the third-grade dual-attribute divine inscription was perfectly inscribed by her. "I'm done," Qianan shouted, extremely carefree. "Good." The patriarch of the Hua family couldn't help but stand up excitedly. Then Li Tianlong walked over, and after looking at it for a while, he nodded in satisfaction. "Not bad, a slightly improved version of the fire attribute divine inscription, and a dual attribute one at that. The effect is not bad. I can give you 25 points, and the extra 3 points are your reward for improving it. This divine inscription of yours is slightly stronger than ordinary dual attribute divine inscriptions. Continue to work hard." "Thank you, Pavilion Master Li, for your guidance," Qianhan said respectfully. Then, she turned her head to look at Yi Tianyun, who was meditating at the side, and said in a low voice, "Young master, thank you for your help just now. Otherwise, I would have failed." "You're welcome. It's because you have a good foundation. It has nothing to do with me." Yi Tianyun smiled casually. He didn't take the credit for this. Qianhan's clear eyes looked him up and down. It was really shocking to have such a level of skill at such a young age. "Quick, look at Lin Li's divine inscription." The Wang family head's eyes lit up. He had placed all his hopes on Lin Li. As long as he won and took first place, the glory would still belong to the Wang family, not the Zhu family. Zhu Tianong had some confidence in Yi Tianyun. However, when he looked up to observe Lin Li, his expression changed. Lin Li's divine inscription had already taken shape, and the aura it emitted was enough to let everyone know what level it was. It was a 4th-grade intermediate difficulty divine inscription. This was not an ordinary 4th-grade divine inscription, but a modified 4th-grade divine inscription. This meant that his score would definitely not be lower than 40 points. If Yi Tianyun's performance was still at the 1st-grade divine inscription level, which meant that he could only inscribe 3 divine inscriptions, then he would definitely win this competition. After all, 3 1st-grade divine inscriptions were at most 10 points. The difference between the two was quickly pulled to 30 points. Was this not enough to fill the gap from before? This is too crazy. To be able to inscribe 4th-grade divine inscriptions at such a young age, it's really amazing. Although he might not be proficient in all of them, being able to inscribe 4th-grade divine inscriptions is already equivalent to being a 4th-grade divine inscriptionist. They were all amazed. Qianhan's radiance had been suppressed in an instant. The two of them were not on the same level at all. This was Lin Li's true strength. After accumulating his strength, he was prepared to inscribe 4th-grade divine inscriptions, far ahead. On the other hand, Yi Tianyun had not made a move yet. He was still meditating at the same spot. Looking at him inscribing 4th-grade divine inscriptions, Yi Tianyun's expression was very calm. He did not seem to be panicking at all. However, Yi Tianyun immediately stood up, as if under pressure, and began to inscribe his divine inscriptions. The familiar starting method caused the crowd to be dumbfounded once again. It was still a 1st-grade divine inscription. Was he trying to defy the heavens? Using a 1st-grade divine inscription against a 4th-grade divine inscription, could it be that he needed to inscribe 4 or 5 1st-grade divine inscriptions? If that was really the case, he could catch up, but wasn't this a little too heaven-defying? To be able to inscribe 4 or 5 1st-grade divine inscriptions, the difficulty was already comparable to 4th-grade divine inscriptions. Was he looking for trouble? Everyone was shocked by Lin Li's standard. At the same time, they were dumbfounded by Yi Tianyun's decision to inscribe 1st-grade divine inscriptions. Could it be that Yi Tianyun only knew how to inscribe 1st-grade divine inscriptions? Wasn't this a little too much? With such shocking concentration, the effect of inscribing high-grade divine inscriptions would definitely not be bad. However, Etienne still stubbornly chose to inscribe first-grade divine inscriptions. Linley glanced at him from the side, and a look of disdain appeared in his eyes. It's still first-grade divine inscriptions? Seems like there's no hope for you. You still want to use first-grade divine inscriptions to defeat me? Too naive. I don't believe you can inscribe more divine inscriptions. Chapter 187. I'll let you try. Let's see if you can surpass me. Linley sneered and continued to focus on inscribing divine runes, ignoring Etienne. In his opinion, Etienne was bound to lose. Etienne had a slight advantage in the previous few rounds. This round was different. Only those with a higher grade would get a higher score. If the grade was too low, it would be difficult to get a higher score. Unless Etienne could really inscribe multiple first-grade divine runes, but that was too difficult. He might as well inscribe a fourth-grade divine rune. Etienne ignored the gazes of others and continued to inscribe the first-grade divine rune. Those with discerning eyes could tell that the first-grade divine rune he was inscribing was of a high difficulty level. But no matter how high the difficulty was, it was still a first-grade divine rune and not a fourth-grade divine rune. However, the difficulty of inscribing multiple divine runes on top of the high-difficulty first-grade divine rune would naturally multiply. Etienne didn't feel anything and continued inscribing. Linley's eyes were filled with mockery. He didn't believe that Etienne could successfully inscribe a fifth-grade divine rune. The difficulty was no less than inscribing a fourth-grade divine rune. At this moment, everyone's attention was focused on the two of them. They were the key figures. One was a genius who could inscribe fourth-grade divine runes, while the other was trying to use a first-grade divine rune to inscribe multiple divine runes. Li Tianlong's eyes flickered. He didn't think that Etienne would make any mistakes when inscribing a first-grade divine rune. As long as he could inscribe a fifth-grade divine rune, he would still get a high score. The difficulty was obvious. As time passed, Linley was almost at the end of his inscribing. On the other hand, Etienne had only inscribed the second divine rune. His progress was still relatively slow. Finally, when there was only an hour left, Linley managed to perfectly inscribe the fourth-grade divine sigil. After connecting it, there was a buzzing sound, and the fourth-grade divine sigil shone brightly. The entire sheet of divine rune paper emitted a dazzling light. This was the effect of a fourth-grade divine rune. Success! Linley was pleasantly surprised. He had successfully inscribed a fourth-grade divine inscription. Previously, he had failed many times, but this time, he had succeeded on his first try. As long as Etienne didn't succeed in inscribing multiple divine inscriptions, he would be able to succeed. He really succeeded. To be able to become a fourth-grade divine inscriptionist at such a young age, his talent is truly incredible. Not bad, the standard of the divine inscriptions manner is truly shocking. Even at such a young age, he's already a fourth-grade divine inscriptionist. I wonder what level the other disciples have reached? Of course, there might even be a divine rune master. The spectators couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. A look of disdain flashed in Linley's eyes. Did they really think that divine inscriptionists were cabbages? For him to be able to inscribe fourth-grade divine inscriptions, luck played a huge part in his success. Although he was already classified as a fourth-grade divine inscriptionist, there was still a huge gap between him and a true perfect fourth-grade divine inscriptionist. Only those who could inscribe high-difficulty divine inscriptions could be called true fourth-grade divine inscriptionists. He could only be considered a pseudo-fourth-grade divine inscriptionist, following which he turned his gaze towards Etienne. In the blink of an eye, Etienne had already succeeded in inscribing a first-grade divine inscription at the third level, and was already starting on the fourth level. Currently, it seemed to be rather stable with no signs of disorder. Based on this situation, If he could really inscribe a first-grade divine inscription at the 4th level, it would already be equivalent to a low-level 4th-grade divine inscription. But even if he succeeded, he would still lose to Lin Li. After all, Lin Li's divine inscription was an improved version, which would definitely add a lot of points. This meant that Yi Tianyin had to inscribe a first-grade divine inscription at the 5th level, or else his points would be caught up. But could he really succeed by doing so? This was simply a heaven-defying standard. In terms of difficulty, it was equivalent to a mid-level 4th-grade divine inscription, but the actual difficulty was still higher than a mid-level 4th-grade divine inscription. It was like an ordinary weapon. No matter how exquisite it was still an ordinary weapon and not a spiritual weapon. It could only be said that the effects were similar, but it could not be sold as a spiritual weapon. Zhu Yue and the rest held their breaths. This was a crucial period, and they all hoped that Yi Tianyin would win this battle. In their hearts, they all believed that Yi Tianyin would win. 5th-grade divine inscription. This was really heaven-defying. Only a seasoned 4th-grade divine inscription master could inscribe a divine inscription of this level. Zhu Tianhong's mouth was dry. He hoped that Yi Tianyin would succeed and not fail. If he failed, there would be no time left. Forget about the top 3. It would be good if he could even fight his way into the top 10. 5th-grade divine inscription. From start to finish, he only inscribed 1st-grade divine inscriptions. I suspect that he really only knows this one move. The Wang family head couldn't help but mock. His foundation is not bad, but playing like this is not good at all. I don't believe that he can inscribe a 5th-grade divine inscription. No one was optimistic that Yi Tianyin would be able to inscribe it. They felt that he was too reckless. But when they thought that he really only knew this one move, they really felt helpless. Yi Tianyin was calm and did not feel that there was any problem. Soon, the 4th divine inscription was perfectly inscribed, and he began to inscribe the 5th divine inscription. The divine inscription brush in his hand was still steadily inscribing, and the divine inscription paper began to emit a dazzling light. Under such a crazy strengthening of the divine inscription, how could it not emit a dazzling light? There were only a few people left inscribing divine inscriptions, but only Yi Tianyin's divine inscription was the most eye-catching. With each stroke, the 5th divine inscription was more than half completed, and it began to be retracted. When they saw that there was only a little left, everyone's heart thumped. Could he really complete it? Fail, he must fail. Lin Li shouted in his heart. If he really succeeded, he would lose. If not for the fact that there were so many people watching, he would definitely fail under the interference if he really interfered. But now, he did not dare to do so. If he really did that, he would be directly disqualified by Li Tianlong, which would mean that he would be disqualified. Finally, Yi Tianyin completed the last part of the inscription under the watchful eyes of the crowd. Buzz! The entire divine inscription paper suddenly emitted a dazzling light, and a beam of light shot up into the sky. After a while, the light gradually subsided, and a 1st-grade, 5th-grade divine inscription was successfully inscribed. This scene shocked everyone. He really succeeded. He succeeded? Lin Li's face was ashen. He raised his head and rubbed his eyes. It really was a 1st-grade, 5th-grade divine inscription. There was no mistake. It really was a 1st-grade, 5th-grade divine inscription. He did not expect to lose to Yi Tianyin again, and it was by a 1st-grade divine inscription at that. This was the greatest humiliation. He had painstakingly inscribed a 4th-grade divine inscription, but it was defeated by a 1st-grade divine inscription. When Patriarch Wang saw that Yi Tianyin had succeeded, his face turned even uglier, and he directly slumped into his chair. Where did this kid come from? How could he do this? Good. Li Tianlong took the lead and exclaimed in admiration. How could he not applaud such amazing control? Li Tianlong praised. The surrounding audience could not help but applaud. Some were too lazy to applaud, and some were even more unwilling. These were all on the Wang family's side. How could they applaud? Chapter 188. Ding! Successfully inscribed a 1st-grade 5th-rank divine rune. Reward: 5,000 experience points, 100 proficiency points. The experience and proficiency points gained from successfully inscribing this divine rune were not low. After all, the difficulty of inscribing multiple divine runes was obvious. The proficiency points gained were not much different from a 4th grade divine rune. Therefore, other than wanting to shock them, Tianyun didn't need to be calculative since the experience points were about the same. Everyone was shocked by Tianyun's success. Even if Tianyun wasn't a 4th grade divine rune master, he would definitely be one in the future. In terms of difficulty, he could be considered a 4th grade divine inscriptionist. Hence, in theory, he could be considered a 4th grade divine inscriptionist. However, he didn't inscribe a 4th grade divine rune, so he couldn't be considered a 4th grade divine rune master. However, Zhu Tianhong and the others knew that Tianyun was indeed a 4th grade divine rune master. It was just that he didn't inscribe a 4th grade divine rune. Not bad. You still succeeded. I thought you had failed. Not bad. Li Tianlong walked over and picked up the divine rune paper in front of Tianyun. After studying it for a while, he said with satisfaction, "Not bad. It's indeed a 4th grade intermediate divine rune. Although the difficulty should be slightly higher, I can only give you 40 points. I'm already very satisfied." Tianyun smiled respectfully. Even if his score was lower than Lin Li's, he still had enough points to surpass him. So, what if it was an improved divine rune? It couldn't exceed 60 points. Li Tianlong announced Lin Li's score. "Your improved divine rune is not bad. I will give you 45 points. "Thank you, Pavilion Lord Li." Although he said thank you, his expression was ugly. He stared at Tianyun with resentment. The first place was taken away, just like that. The quota to enter the heavens' spiritual jade pond was gone, just like that. How could he not be resentful? Most importantly, he was a disciple of the divine rune manor. The meaning of failure was different. Soon after, the 3 matches were over and the scores were announced by Li Tianlong. The 3 rounds of competition have ended, and the rankings for this year's Divine Inscriptions Grand Competition are out. Now I will announce the rankings. First place, Tianyun. Second place, Lin Li. Third place, Qianhan. No matter what competition it was, only the first place would be remembered forever, not the second, and definitely not the third. Wang family head, I'm really sorry this time. Our Zhu family has won in all aspects. Zhu Tianhong naturally would not forget to ruthlessly trample on the Wang family. As competitors, how could he let the other party have an easy time? Oomph. Patriarch Wang didn't even bother to reply. He turned around and wanted to leave. This time, he was very dissatisfied with Lin Li. This made the Wang family lose a lot of face. In the following days, they wouldn't be able to raise their heads at all. The number of people who came to do business with them would definitely decrease. It would be strange if they could be happy about this. After the rankings were announced, the rewards were given out. Tianyun obtained the right to use the Heaven's Spiritual Jade Pool for 5 days and a token. With this token, he could use it at the General Pavilion at any time. 5 days in the Heaven's Spiritual Jade Pool. Good stuff. Tianyun held the Heaven's Spiritual Jade Pool reward token and nodded his head in satisfaction. Ding! Successfully completed the 3rd chain mission. Obtained 500,000 experience points, 1,000 proficiency points for Divine Inscriptions Mastery. The mission was completed perfectly, and he obtained another 1,000 proficiency points. After a quick check, he was not far from the high-level Divine Inscriptions Mastery. If he continued to inscribe more Divine Inscriptions, he would be able to reach that level easily. Other than 1st grade Divine Inscriptions, do you know other Divine Inscriptions? Lin Li walked over and said coldly, "No matter how well you inscribe 1st grade Divine Inscriptions, you are only a 1st grade Divine Inscriptionist. You are not a 4th grade Divine Inscriptionist. What does this have to do with you?" Tianyun replied indifferently. What did his grade have to do with him? This is simply an insult to me. If you have the ability, try inscribing 4th grade Divine Inscriptions. What's the point of knowing 1st grade Divine Inscriptions? Lin Li hated him to the core. What benefits do I get from inscribing 4th grade Divine Inscriptions? Tianyun asked indifferently. As long as you can inscribe 4th grade Divine Inscriptions, Pavilion Master Li's insights will be yours. Lin Li threw out the reward he had obtained previously. However, Tianyun did not even look at it. These insights were not of much use to him. I'm not interested. Take it and see for yourself. Tianyun replied indifferently. What do you mean by not interested? I think you can't inscribe it at all. Lin Li snorted coldly. As long as you can inscribe 4th grade divine inscriptions here, not only will I give you the insights, I will also give you everything I have. He took out a storage ring and slapped it on the platform. No one knew what treasures were inside. However, this storage ring was already quite valuable. It could not be bought without a few 100,000 taels of silver. It was definitely a rare item. However, this storage ring was not rare at all. It was not even as spacious as his own inventory. He could store whatever he wanted. He was not interested in the storage ring, but he was interested in the things inside. Lin Li must be quite wealthy. Naturally, there would be good things inside. Since you want to give me something so much, I won't stand on ceremony. Tianyun pulled out a piece of divine rune paper and started inscribing with a divine rune brush. The people who had not left immediately focused their attention on him. What's going on? It looks like he's inscribing 4th grade divine inscriptions. Really? Doesn't he only know how to inscribe 1st grade divine inscriptions? Let's go and take a look. If he can really inscribe 4th grade divine inscriptions, that would be amazing. Very quickly, they saw the result. Tianyun's speed of inscribing 4th grade divine inscriptions was very fast. Although it was not as fast as 1st grade divine inscriptions, it was definitely at least half the speed. With this speed, he quickly inscribed 4th grade divine inscriptions. In less than 2 hours, he easily completed the 4th grade divine inscription. There was no difficulty. He completed it in one go. Although it was a low-grade 4th grade divine inscription, it was at least a 4th grade divine inscription. Oh my god, he really completed it? Their eyes widened when they saw Tianyun finish the last stroke. The aura of the 4th grade divine inscription could not be faked. Lin Li was shocked, completely shocked. He had always thought that Tianyun only knew how to inscribe 1st grade divine inscriptions. Now he was slapped in the face again. A 4th grade divine inscription was inscribed in front of him. And it was done perfectly. I thought you only knew 1st grade divine inscriptions? Lin Li was shocked. Chapter 189. Who said I only know 1st grade divine runes? Tianyun's words were like a slap to their faces. The 4th grade divine rune was right in front of them, and it was carved perfectly. There was nothing to nitpick about. Regardless of the difficulty, it was enough that he could carve it. This was equivalent to a heavy slap on Lin Li's face. Wasn't it just a 4th grade divine rune? Lin Li could carve it easily. When the surrounding people saw this, they were dumbfounded. He said he could carve it, and he really did it. They looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. At this moment, Li Tianlong had not left yet. When he saw this scene, he walked over and carefully looked at the 4th grade divine rune. He praised, not bad at all. This 4th grade divine rune is quite good. Speaking of which, why are you unwilling to carve 4th grade divine runes? Are you always aiming for 1st grade divine runes? Or are you unable to carve the more difficult 4th grade divine runes? This question was also something that the others were very concerned about. He clearly had the ability to carve 4th grade divine runes, but he kept carving 1st grade divine runes. Was it because he wanted to keep a low profile? If that was the case, he had achieved his goal. I wanted to do that, but I was ridiculed by others for carving a 1st grade divine rune. You must know that the rules are like this. It doesn't matter what grade it is, as long as it meets the rules. Moreover, who says that 1st grade divine runes are the worst? Take a closer look at the effect of my 5th grade divine rune. I have always prioritized meaning over illusion. Tianyun's gaze was indifferent as he calmly replied to their questions. Only now did Li Tianlong recall, and he suddenly understood. Now that I think about it, the 1st grade divine imprint you inscribed was the simplest strength-type divine imprint. After adding 5 layers to it, the might of the divine imprint was doubled. 4th grade divine runes are basically elemental divine runes. If your weapon or armor already has an elemental attribute, it wouldn't be very useful. Yes, I have always prioritized practicality over illusion, Yi Tianyun said with a faint smile. It's just that I thought the divine rune could be taken away. Haha, you can keep this. Your level is quite high. Li Tianlong thought for a moment and extended a cordial invitation. I heard that you are a helper invited by the Zhu family's patriarch. It seems that you are quite skilled, although I don't know which sect you are from. Why don't you come to the General Pavilion as a foreign minister? We value talents in this area. We won't ask you to do anything. If you have nothing to do, you can help us carve the divine runes. If Lin Li agreed to Li Tianlong's invitation, it would undoubtedly be a slap to his face. Yi Tianyun smiled faintly and politely refused. Thank you for your kindness, Pavilion Master Li, but I don't have such thoughts at the moment. That's a pity. Li Tianlong smiled and continued. I hope you can consider it carefully. We won't restrict you too much, and we can give you more resources. Junior will consider it carefully. Yi Tianyun nodded and said. After the invitation, Li Tianlong went to take care of other matters. He had already extended an olive branch, but he didn't know whether Yi Tianyun would accept it or not. Lin Li, who was at the side, was completely ignored by Li Tianlong. Even if his level wasn't low, Li Tianlong didn't invite him. Lin Li's level wasn't bad, but it wasn't good enough for him to invite him personally. This was because he could only be considered a fake 4th-grade Divine Rune Master, while Yi Tianyun was a steady 4th-grade Divine Rune Master. Li Tianlong could already tell from the technique just now. Combined with his previous level, Lin Li was definitely a top 4th-grade Divine Rune Master. Moreover, Lin Li was so young. How could he not put down his status and invite him? It wasn't that Li Tianlong was friendly, but that Yi Tianyun was worthy of his invitation. This was undoubtedly a heavy slap to Lin Li's face, and there was a sharp contrast. I've already won the bet, so I won't stand on ceremony and accept it. Yi Tianyun smiled and kept the storage ring. He had already won the bet, and as for what Lin Li thought, it was none of his business. Lin Li's face was ashen, and a trace of ruthlessness flashed in his eyes. He clenched his teeth, and after holding it in for a long time, he could only squeeze out a word. Lin Li turned around and left. He was too ashamed to see anyone, and he just wanted to leave this place as soon as possible. Lin Li turned around and left. Soon, the Wang family head walked down with a gloomy face. Wang family head, I'm sorry, this time is my mistake, Lin Li said apologetically. Don't say any more. This has nothing to do with you. Moreover, it's already not bad to get second place. However, where did this kid come from? We have to investigate. I can't take this lying down. The Wang family head's face was gloomy. Wang family head, you mean? Lin Li raised his head slightly and saw the murderous glint in the Wang family head's eyes. He definitely can't be left alive. It looks like he's on the Zhu family head's side. The Zhu family head is my next opponent for the Deputy Pavilion Master position, and he even won this time. Just now, Pavilion Master Li favored that kid a lot. Since that's the case, he can't be left alive. The Wang family head's eyes were cold. Lin Li nodded. That's good. Such an opponent must be eliminated to prevent future troubles. After they left, Zhu Tianhong laughed and walked over. Did you see the Wang family head's face? It's already dark. This is the first time I've seen him suffer so much. It's really been hard on you this time. We just took what we needed. Yi Tianyun smiled indifferently. He agreed to Zhu Tianhong's request because he wanted to take on Zhu Yue and Zhu Yuxuan. I understand this, and I'm very satisfied with you this time. Zhu Tianhong raised his eyes and gestured for Attendant Liu and Attendant Huang to come over. The two of them walked over timidly with their heads lowered and did not dare to raise their heads to look at Yi Tianyun. You two know what to do, right? Zhu Tianhong looked at them coldly and said. Although Deacon Huang and Deacon Liu were unwilling, they still stretched out their hands and gave themselves a few hard slaps. Their faces were swollen. I'm sorry, Mastery. This is all our fault. We said the wrong thing. We were blind. They did not want to do this, but the Zhu family head had specially given the order, so they could only choose to obey. Yi Tianyun looked at them coldly and did not bother to stop them. In his opinion, it was just a trick to hurt themselves. Zhu Yue and Zhu Yuxuan shook their heads and did not say anything. They were just doing things for the Zhu family, and it was not too much of a mistake. All right, the matter has been helped, and they are no longer part of the Zhu family from now on. The kindness from before has been repaid today, Yi Tianyun said in a low voice. Of course, I'm a man of my word. I will not make things difficult for them anymore. Zhu Tianhong smiled faintly and said, if it's possible in the future, I hope we can cooperate well. Any reward is negotiable. If there is such a chance. Yi Tianyun's expression was indifferent, and it seemed that he would not continue to communicate with them too much. Zhu Tianhong shook his head and sighed inwardly. If it wasn't for some trouble, they would definitely be good partners. If they could become their guest elder, it would undoubtedly increase the strength of the Zhu family. Chapter 190. After Zhu Tianhong and Deacon Liu left, at the corner, Deacon Liu covered his mouth and said, Zhu clan head, are you going to let that kid go just like that? He is a 4th-grade divine rune master. It would be a great loss if we let him go. Zhu Tianhong's eyes turned cold. He raised his hand and gave him a slap. Pa! Deacon Liu was slapped away and a few of his teeth were broken. You still have the cheek to say that? Zhu Tianhong said coldly. If it wasn't for you, he would definitely be our guest. And you still want to force him? If you want to die, don't bring me along. A 4th-grade divine rune master at such a young age. How can his background be simple? Maybe it has something to do with that mysterious expert. If he can destroy the Qing Xian mansion, even if he can't destroy the Star Pavilion, at least he can destroy our Zhu clan. Do you understand? Within the clan, Zhu Tianhong was completely focused on the clan. He could sacrifice anyone for the clan, but he was not willing to provoke others. Putting one's own safety before matters of principle was the best way to handle things. Deacon Liu climbed up. His whole body was trembling. He could only lower his head and not say a word. No matter what, at least this matter has been resolved. I hope that we can cooperate in the future. Zhu Tianhong shook his head and felt that it was a pity. The two of them followed a good man. When we first adopted them, they were originally intended to be servants. I didn't expect them to sacrifice so much for our Zhu clan. It's really hard for them. I can only blame myself for being too incompetent. He left with Deacon Liu. He did not want to stay here any longer. When they left, a figure appeared in the corner. This person was Yi Tianyun. He just wanted to eavesdrop on them to see if they had any other thoughts. It seemed that Zhu Tianhong was a straightforward person. Unlike some sinister people, he was ruthless enough to sacrifice anyone for the clan. Ding! Successfully completed the mission, become the top 3 in the Divine Rune competition, save the 2 sisters. Reward: 1 million experience points, 1 strength and lottery roulette ticket. Divine Rune proficiency points increased by 500. Zhu Yue and Zhu Yuxuan's favorability points increased by 100. Ding! Congratulations to player Yi Tianyun. Your Divine Rune proficiency has been upgraded to Divine Rune Advanced Proficiency. The process was extremely smooth. Naturally, there wasn't any difficulty in leveling up from the intermediate level to the advanced level. However, the proficiency required for the next level was already at the level of 100,000. This was quite troublesome. There's still one chance to use the enhanced lottery roulette. I'll use it next time. Yi Tianyun is more concerned about this. This is a lottery ticket worth 500,000 crazy points. Every time he gets something good, how can he not be tempted? After tidying up a little, he turned around and walked back to meet up with Zhu Yue and the rest. However, just as he turned around, he saw a familiar face walking towards him. Young master, we meet again. Thank you so much for your help earlier. If it wasn't for you, I would have failed my divine inscription. Yi Tianyun walked over and smiled. I almost forgot to introduce myself. This little girl is from Heaven's Top Mansion. Surnamed Yi, first name Tianhan. May I know your name? My name is Yi Tianyun from the Jade Sect. Yi Tianyun smiled faintly and said, I just said a few words casually. It's an honor for Miss Yi to believe me. The most important thing is that you are strong enough. Otherwise, what I said would be useless. That's true, but I still have to thank young Master Yi. I didn't expect a second-grade faction to have a genius like young Master E. It's really unexpected. Ichianon smiled and said, if possible, I wonder if young Master E has time to visit our Heaven's Top mansion. That's not necessary for the time being. I still have things to do. I'll visit your mansion later. Tianyin smiled. All right, then I'll wait for young Master E at Heaven's Top mansion. Also, this is the referral token. When you go to Heaven's Top mansion, you can use this to find me. Ichianon handed the referral token to Tianyin, bowed slightly, then left with a smile on her face. When Tianyin returned, Zhu Yue and Zhu Yuxuan were talking about something, and when he came back, they looked at him with a smile. What's wrong? Why are you looking at me like that? What's on my face? Tianyin reached out and touched his face. It seems like there's nothing on his face. Elder E, why don't we change our surname to E? Zhu Yue smiled and said, this? Tianyin was stunned. Isn't this a bit too exaggerated? We are orphans. We followed the Zhu family. That's why we changed our surname to Zhu. Now that we are with you, we are no longer part of the Zhu family, so we don't plan to change our surname to Zhu. Their expression is firm. They have already decided to change their surname to Tianyin. That's up to you, I don't really care. Tianyin really doesn't care about this, but if they insist, then he can't do anything about it. Well, I will be called Yue from now on. Then I will be called Yuxuan. From now on, both of us will listen to Elder Yi's orders. Elder Yi will decide everything. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. Full of joy, they felt that this is finally a kind of relief. Okay. It's up to you. Tianyin felt quite helpless, but he also smiled a little. After settling the two sisters, Tianyin took the token to the general pavilion. He was going to exchange for the time to enter the Heaven's spiritual jade pool. Because he will be busy later, he didn't know when he will come back to the general pavilion, so he just used it here. When he came to the general pavilion, the decoration and the scale of this place is really different from the branch. The decoration style is the same, but the scale is big enough. It is like a city. The whole area belongs to the Star Pavilion. Therefore, next to the competition square, there is actually a city called Star City. A city built by the Star Pavilion. It is more like a large sect. There is not much difference between this city and other cities. The biggest difference is that it is managed by the Star Pavilion. Arriving in front of the general pavilion, Tianyin took the token and walked in. When the guards saw the token, their faces changed, and they immediately welcomed him. I am here to exchange for the reward. May I know where the Heaven's spiritual jade pool is? Tianyin asked. I'll have to let the elders bring you in. Please wait a moment. Then, the guards quickly went to find an elder. After a while, an elder walked over, looked him up and down, and his eyes showed some surprise. You are the winner? Although Tianyin became famous in this competition, not everyone went to watch it. So many people didn't know his true identity. Yes, I am the winner, Tianyin said with a smile. You are too young. The elder smiled and said, compared to the rumors, you look much younger. Come with me. Pavilion Master Li has specially told us that if you come, we must treat you well, young Master E. Otherwise, we will be impolite. Tianyin nodded. To be able to receive this kind of treatment, it was all because of his amazing strength. For example, Lin Li was given the cold shoulder. Chapter 191. Under the guidance of the elder, Tianyin followed into the general pavilion, passed through a long corridor, and soon came to a special corridor. The environment here is obviously different from the outside. There are divine runes engraved around here, which can be used to fight against enemies. As for the effect, it needs to be studied carefully to know. But Tianyin has no interest in this. But he knows that this must be a very important place. The heavenly spiritual jade pond is in front. The elder took him to a gate not far away. There were 2 core condensation realm guards here. To be able to let a core condensation realm cultivator as a guard, this place can be regarded as a big deal. Elder Yin, what's the matter? The 2 guards asked. This is the Star Pavilion's Divine Rune Competition champion. He is here to exchange for the reward. Elder Yin took out the token and handed it over and said, This is Pavilion Master Li's token. Please check it. If you want to enter the heavenly spiritual Jade Pond, even Elder Yin can't enter at will. It shows how important this place is. The guard took the token. After checking it, he nodded and said, "Yes, this is indeed Pavilion Master Li's token. According to the reward rules, you can get 5 days inside." With that said, they pushed open the heavy door together. After opening a gap, a very rich spiritual power surged out from the inside, making Tianyin feel comfortable. This degree of concentration is too strong, much stronger than the outside. Compared to the heavens immersing ancient ruins spirit gathering array, the difference is more than 10 times. When opening a gap that can accommodate one person, the guard urged, "Hurry up, we will open the door in 5 days and let you out. During this period, you can absorb as much as you want. It depends on your ability. But you can't touch the spirit herbs inside. If you pull them out, you will have to pay for them." Tianyin nodded. Without saying a word, he immediately rushed in. After entering, the guard quickly closed the door, preventing the spiritual energy inside from leaking out. This is the heavenly spiritual Jade Pond. After entering, the first thing that came into view was a lake. The lake was quite vast, and the surroundings were filled with flowers and grasses. However, these flowers and grasses were not ordinary flowers and grasses, but spiritual herbs. From the looks of it, there were high and low grades. The high grade had reached the 5th grade, but the low grade was no lower than the 4th grade. They were excellent materials for refining 4th grade elixirs. Apart from these, there was nothing else, and no one else was here. Such dense spiritual energy, this is completely a spirit spring. Tianyin looked over, and his appraisal, I immediately revealed it. Heaven's spiritual Jade Pond, 5th grade spiritual vein spring, able to nurture 5th grade spiritual herbs. The spiritual force contained in it was extremely rich and suitable for cultivators within the spirit core stage to absorb. It had the effect of improving cultivation and strengthening spiritual force. 5 days? I can't waste it. Tianyin didn't waste any time and jumped into the heaven's spiritual jade pool. The moment he jumped into the heaven's spiritual jade pool, the rich spiritual energy in the surroundings rushed into his body. He didn't need to absorb it at all. It had already rushed into his body. 500 EXP, 300 EXP, 460 EXP. This was the constant flow of EXP. He didn't need to move at will to obtain this EXP. This meant that he could lie here and sleep. And when he woke up, he might have more than 1,000,000 EXP. Of course, he wouldn't waste it like this. Even if it was 1,000,000 EXP, it was still a pitiful amount for him. Let's start absorbing. Crazy mode. Activate. Tianyin didn't waste any time. He activated crazy mode and continued to absorb the spiritual energy. Under the effect of absorbing stars' great technique, a huge vortex was formed around him, sucking in the spiritual energy and absorbing it into his body. 32,000 EXP, 35,000 EXP, 34,000 EXP. Under the 8 times EXP mode, his EXP suddenly exploded. He had EXP cards, but he was reluctant to use them. After all, they were too little for him, unless he leveled up. If he wanted to upgrade the intermediate Dark North Divine art to a high-grade Earth-level martial art, he still needed a lot of EXP. The Absorbing Stars' great technique was not in a hurry to upgrade, but the Dark North Divine art was the source of EXP. Absorbing Stars' great technique was just a simple absorption, but it couldn't be converted into EXP. The Dark North Divine art was the main way to gain EXP immediately. Tianyin didn't pay any attention to it. He was immersed in cultivation, and his EXP continued to increase. At the same time, the consumption of Crazy Point was also a lot. Under the 8 times mode, the consumption of Crazy Point is also a lot. Because of this, he didn't dare to use Crazy Point at will. This thing is difficult to earn, and the consumption is very fast. In a blink of an eye, he had been absorbing for a full day, and finally, a beautiful voice came. Ding! Congratulations to player Tianyin, successfully leveled up to 7th level Spirit Core. The whole process was quite difficult. He gave up the 8 times crazy mode later. After all, it was calculated in minutes, and the consumption was still very high. If he could continue, the EXP would be quite considerable. However, he still chose to stop after a long period of time. Otherwise, it would take a long time for him to level up. Finally leveled up, let me see how the situation of the Dark North Divine Art is. He checked the proficiency of the Dark North Divine Art and found that the proficiency of the Dark North Divine Art is still more than 7,000. Just more than 7,000, and he can upgrade the Dark North Divine Art to the next level. Continue to absorb. Tianyun immediately sank his heart and madly absorbed the Dark North Divine Art to increase the proficiency. Time passed in a blink of an eye, and when he checked again, he found that the proficiency is more than 3,000. In a day, only more than 3,000 proficiency. Isn't this a bit too much? This proficiency is not something that can be casually absorbed, but to absorb a certain amount, it can increase the corresponding proficiency. Otherwise, if I keep absorbing the outside sky, wouldn't I be able to level up? Forget it, time is running out. I'll just grit my teeth and buy a middle-grade Earth-level Dark North Divine Art. He opened the shop, and the middle-grade Earth-level Dark North Divine Art is lying in the shop. And the price is also quite eye-catching, 300,000 crazy point. Buy it! Tianyun gritted his teeth and chose to buy the middle-grade Earth-level Dark North Divine Art. It's not easy to have so much spiritual power here. He can't waste it. Soon, a middle-grade Earth-level martial art fell into the inventory, and he chose to integrate it. Ding! Successfully integrated Dark North Divine Art. Gained 5,000 proficiency. Ding! Successfully upgraded Dark North Divine Art to high-grade Earth-level martial art. The absorption speed increased by 6 times. The next level requires 1 million proficiency. Chapter 192. After the upgrade of the Dark North Divine Art, it soared from the original 2 times to 6 times. The effect was quite amazing, a full 3 times increase. Immediately, he used all his strength and quickly absorbed. Originally, when he absorbed, a small vortex formed around him. Now it formed a huge vortex, and all the spiritual energy rushed into his body. 12,000 experience points, 13,000 experience points, 12,800 experience points. The throughput suddenly increased, reaching an unprecedented effect. However, Tianyun felt that it was not the limit, and the Dark North Divine Art could absorb more. The absorbing star's great technique can't keep up with the progress. The capacity of the Dark North Divine Art is too high, and the absorption speed is not as fast as the throughput of the Dark North Divine Art. Tianyun frowned, and then his eyes lit up. I almost forgot, didn't the Heaven-Devouring Divine Art drop before? That can enhance the effect. He immediately activated the Heaven-Devouring Divine Art. After activating it, he suddenly felt the surrounding spiritual power quickly sucking into his body. Suddenly, it was as if a whirlwind was blowing in the air, sweeping up the surrounding spiritual power, and then continuously pouring into his body. Originally, the Heaven-Devouring Divine Art was to absorb the surrounding power to enhance his own strength, but now he used it to extract spiritual energy. 23,000 experience points, 24,000 experience points, 22,000 experience points. All of a sudden, the experience soared by 10,000 experience points, and now the speed of absorption finally kept up with the absorption speed of the Dark North Divine Art. He did not need Crazy Mode at all to reach an amazing amount of experience. Crazy Mode, activate. After activating the 8 times mode, the experience suddenly exploded. 180,000 experience points, 182,000 experience points, 183,000 experience points. Such a crazy EXP mode left him dumbfounded. As expected of the base increase, when it was doubled, the amount of EXP was naturally different. What are you waiting for? Let's make a fortune first. 20 times experience card, use. 10 times experience card, use. The only 2 experience cards he had were used, and the multiplier was suddenly stacked to 38 times experience value. 760,000 experience points, 770,000 experience points, 768,000 experience points. This experience was like a sudden clap of thunder, exploding in his ears. As the numbers increased crazily, he cried out in surprise. This was too awesome. Just the speed alone meant that leveling up would be much faster. Of course, the experience required wasn't low, but if he continued like this, he wouldn't have to worry about his level. At the same time that he felt comfortable, the spiritual power around him began to drain rapidly. It was being consumed much faster than before. This was the effect of the Dark North Divine Art. The absorption speed had increased, and it was much faster than when ordinary experts came in. The absorption was very crazy. Gradually, the liquid in the spirit vein became thinner, and then it was filled up by the rich liquid. However, based on the current situation, he would probably suck away more than half of the spirit vein. In the blink of an eye, a day had passed. Finally, he heard a pleasant voice. Congratulations to player Etion for breaking through to level 8 Spirit Core stage. Finally, after 2 days, he successfully broke through to the 8th level Spirit Core stage. In the short span of 4 days, he had broken through 2 levels here, and it seemed that he could continue to advance. However, he didn't have any more experience cards to use. It would be too expensive to buy them. Finally leveled up, this speed is not bad. Etion was satisfied. If others knew about this, they would definitely vomit blood. Breaking through 2 levels in such a short period of time was not bad. If it was them, they wouldn't be able to break through 1 level in a few years, let alone 2 levels. Those who had reached level 8 or level 8 Spirit Core stage were all at least 40 or 50 years old. They were definitely geniuses. Under normal circumstances, most of them were above 80 or 90 years old, and some of them couldn't even reach that level in their lifetime. By the way, I still have one more lucky draw. If I get an experience card, I will use it here. He didn't have any experience card now, so if he got one from the lucky draw, it would be best to use it here. Immediately, he activated the lucky aura and the enhanced lucky roulette. It was no different from the previous roulette, and under his control, it began to spin quickly. The pointer kept pointing at the values on the roulette, and it was rolling crazily. He had calmed down. As for what he got, it was up to him. Soon, the pointer stopped and steadily fell on the special item. Gulp! A box fell into his inventory, causing him to be stunned. A special item, second only to a divine skill? He didn't expect to get such a special item. The special item he got before was the 100 transformation mask. Now that he had the enhanced lucky roulette, he didn't know what kind of special items he could get. Immediately, he opened the box, and something appeared in front of him. Phoenix wings. Phoenix wings cannot be leveled up. Decoration. After equipping, can fly. If you can fly, your flying speed will be increased by 3 times. Good stuff. Etion was shocked. He didn't expect to get Phoenix wings. Even if he didn't reach core transformation stage, he could still fly. Even if he could fly after breaking through to core transformation stage, his flying speed would be increased by 3 times. In this way, I can fly, and I can escape during normal times. With the help of teleportation, who can fight with me? Etion smiled and walked to the side a few times. Suddenly, his feet slipped, and before he could react, he sank to the bottom of the water. When he sank to the bottom of the water, he wanted to get up, but he found that he had fallen into a tunnel and was sucked down by a torrent. After going around in circles, he felt that he was about to get dizzy, and he felt that he was being thrown out. After being thrown out, he felt that there was no pressure from the water around him, and he felt that his body was relaxed. After spinning a few times in the air, he quickly landed on the ground. He looked up and saw a secret chamber made of white jade. There was a jade door in front of him, and it looked very strange. What's going on? Etion turned his head and looked behind him. He found that there was a hole that kept flowing out. Obviously, he came out from there. I need to turn off the lucky aura quickly. He was stunned and immediately turned off the lucky aura. After turning off the lucky aura, his heart skipped a beat. Could it be that this lucky aura caused me to be so lucky that I was sent here? Chapter 193. Before Etion could think about anything else, he found that the hole that he came out of had suddenly flowed back. This meant that if he wanted to come down from above, it would be very difficult to come down unless he forced his way in. It seems that it's really caused by the lucky aura. In the future, whenever I go to a special place, I have to activate the lucky aura to check. Tianyun licked his lips. He didn't expect to find a secret room like this. It seemed that it was not simple. It was not surprising that there was such an amazing secret room under such a spiritual vein. It seemed that the Star Pavilion didn't know that there was a secret room here. If there was a secret room, it would have been heavily guarded. Looking around carefully, it was overgrown with weeds. It was obvious that no one had been here for a long time. I just got the phoenix wings, and now I've entered such a good place. My luck is really good. Tianyun grinned and put away the phoenix wings. This was a life-saving thing. Although he had the black dragon pet that could fly, what if the black dragon was stopped? The most important thing was speed. With the phoenix wings, his escape speed increased by 3 times. Unless it was a powerhouse with a much higher cultivation than him, it would be impossible to catch up with him. After putting it away, he looked around again. Although it was overgrown with weeds, there were also a lot of elixirs. It was the same here as the outside, full of spiritual power, so it was full of elixirs. He didn't stand on ceremony at all. Without hesitation, he put them all into his inventory. They were all a bunch of 4th and 5th grade elixirs. Of course, he couldn't miss them. After cleaning up, there was nothing around except for the jade door in front of him. When he came to the jade door, he knocked on the door gently and shouted symbolically, "Is anyone there?" After shouting, there was no other phenomenon except for his own echo. He raised his hand and pushed gently. The jade door opened without much effort. With a rumbling sound, the jade door opened to both sides. At the same time, a chill came from inside, causing him to narrow his eyes. He didn't know what was inside. Since he was here, he could not go in and take a look, right? There won't be any traps inside, right? Tianyun lifted his foot and walked in. As soon as he walked in, the surrounding jade stones immediately lit up. It was as if a lamp had been lit up, illuminating the entire passageway. There was not a single blind spot. Moreover, this light was much brighter than the night pearl, and it was not dazzling. Jade Spirit Stone, a highly concentrated spirit stone that contains 3 times the spiritual power of a normal spirit stone. That's a big deal. They actually used the Jade Spirit Stone to start this secret room. Tianyun thought for a moment and felt relieved. This was one of the spiritual veins. It was not surprising that they could use the Jade Spirit Stone to start this secret room. However, he did not intend to dismantle it. Only the heavens knew what was inside the wall. If there were any traps, then he would suffer a great loss. In the face of the unknown, it was best to maintain a respectful heart. If one was too greedy for everything, they would definitely die the fastest. As he went deeper, it didn't take him long to walk into a room. It was much colder here than outside, but it wasn't frozen. However, it was enough to add a layer of frost to his clothes. If an ordinary person was here, they would have already frozen to death. When he looked up, he saw a coffin in front of him. However, it was a crystal coffin. He only needed to look up to clearly see that there was a woman lying in the crystal coffin. "Someone's here?" Tianyun walked over. There was really a woman lying in the crystal coffin. She was extremely beautiful. There was even a touch of red on her fair face. She looked very good, as if she was lying in the crystal coffin and sleeping soundly. She was wearing a white dress. She was spread out in the crystal coffin. There were also white lotus flowers around her. After a little investigation, he found that these white lotus flowers were the relatively rare heavenly ice snow lotus. This was a 5th grade elixir. Under normal circumstances, it was very difficult to find it. However, there were dozens of them spread out on the side. A faint fragrance floated from inside, making people feel a little tranquil. This woman looked like she was sleeping soundly, but in fact, she was already dead. Tianyun could not feel any signs of life from her body. She was really dead. However, he did not see any wounds on her body. "I didn't expect it to be a dead person," Tianyun frowned. He did not expect to find a dead person here. However, this woman's body could be preserved very well. The spiritual energy here was very dense. It must be the central area of the spiritual vein. With such dense spiritual energy and the heavenly ice snow lotus, this woman's body could be preserved for a long time, unless the spiritual vein collapsed. Immediately, Etienne closed his eyes. He put his hands together and bowed lightly. I didn't mean to intrude. Please don't mind. He did not open the crystal coffin. Instead, he turned his head to look at other places. Although there was something good in the crystal coffin, he would not touch it. Some things were better left untouched. After walking one round, he saw a line of words on the wall in front of him. Snow lotus blooms. Life is reborn. Snow lotus blooms. Life is reborn. What does this mean? Etienne frowned. He looked back and found that the heavenly ice snow lotus in the crystal coffin was indeed about to be opened. It was blooming slowly. Although it was slow, it was still blooming. These heavenly ice snow lotuses were not buried in the ground. They were just placed in the crystal coffin to bloom. This was strange. Could it be that when the heavenly ice snow lotus blooms, she will wake up? It can't be. It's that magical? Etienne thought for a while. He felt that it was better to leave as soon as possible. Apart from the crystal coffin, there was nothing else here. Who knew what would happen if she woke up? I should leave quickly. It's good enough that I can come in and see. Just as he was about to leave, a soft murmur came from the crystal coffin. He turned his head to look at the crystal coffin as if he had seen a ghost. He saw that the beautiful woman was really about to wake up. Her eyelashes were trembling, as if she was about to wake up at any time. Should I leave or not? Etienne's feet were nailed to the ground. He did not know if he should leave or not. She had already woken up. As long as there was no danger to him, there shouldn't be any big problems, right? Who knows, there might be some other opportunities. While he was thinking, the woman had already woken up. She slowly opened her eyes. Her light blue eyes were like gems that had reappeared in the sky, emitting a faint blue light. Then, she slowly pushed the crystal coffin open and sat up. Chapter 194. The woman stretched her body as if she had just woken up. Her aura was immediately restored, unlike before when she had no aura at all. She was like a living person. At this moment, the woman turned around and happened to see him. Their eyes met. Etienne didn't know what to say. Immediately, the woman smiled. She looked quite beautiful, like a fairy descending to the world, with a bit of immortal chi. However, Etienne was already immune to this. He just didn't know what to say. Brother, you're here? The woman smiled. Brother, what brother? Etienne turned his head and looked behind him. There was no one behind him. He was the only one in the room. Brother, what are you talking about? Aren't you my brother? The woman climbed out of the crystal coffin and said with a smile, Every time I wake up, you're the one guarding me. What? I'm guarding you? Etienne said awkwardly, I'm sorry, miss. I'm really not your brother. I'm just passing by. No one has been here for a long time. I don't know what's going on. Brother, don't joke around. You're making me happy again. The woman jumped over. Perhaps she had slept for too long. Her body went limp and she fell towards him. Fortunately, Etienne reacted quickly. He quickly supported the woman. Are you okay? I'm fine. Brother, where are we going now? The woman smiled. Her blue eyes met his. To Etienne, it was like looking at a blue ocean. Are we going home? Miss, I'm really not your brother. You've mistaken me for someone else. After helping her up, Etienne let go to avoid any misunderstandings. How is that possible? You're my brother. Brother, you are making fun of me again. Just as she was about to continue speaking, she frowned and reached out to hold her head. It hurts, my head hurts so much. Miss, are you okay? Etienne looked her up and down. He was too embarrassed to support her. After all, men and women shouldn't touch each other. If she found out that he wasn't her brother, wouldn't she chop him into pieces? Through the appraisal eye, Etienne found out that Etienne's cultivation was not low. Etienne's cultivation had reached the 5th level of core transformation stage. This young man, who was not much older than him and about the same age as his aunt, was actually at the core transformation stage. You are not my brother. The woman clutched her head and said in pain, "Of course I'm not your brother. I said that from the beginning." Yun hurriedly said, Then who am I?" The woman frowned, clutching her head as she half knelt on the ground. It was as if the intense pain in her head was unbearable. "Mizu." Yun looked up and saw the heavenly ice snow lotus in the crystal coffin. He hurriedly took it out and then placed it on her head. Following that, a faint ice-cold aura flowed into her head. After that, the woman's condition slightly stabilized. It was obvious that she had just woken up and her memory was in a mess. "Thank you." The woman's condition slightly stabilized. She picked up the heavenly ice snow lotus and smelled it. Her condition had stabilized a lot. "I remember a little. I am Renjiro." She frowned. The more she thought about it, the more she couldn't remember. The more she thought about it, the more painful it was. "It's good that you can remember a little. You can think about the rest slowly." Yun comforted her. At least she could remember her name. If she didn't know anything, he really didn't know what to say. "Brother, my head hurts." Renjiro fell into his arms. She still felt the pain in her head. Just a moment ago, she clearly said that he was not her brother, and now it was happening again. Yun felt a little speechless. He picked her up again and placed her in the crystal coffin. "Lie down here for a while. You just woke up, so your memory is a bit messy." Renjiro nodded and lay down. She smelled the heavenly ice snow lotus. She felt a little better. Yun didn't go out. Instead, he chose to sit on the side. There was a spirit spring coming from the side. The design of this place was very ingenious. There were several canals dug around the room. This way, the spirit spring would cover the entire area, filling this place with dense spirit energy. He used this place to continue to absorb the spirit spring like crazy. He couldn't waste it. It was not easy to come in here for 5 days. How could he waste this time? This was a good opportunity to earn EXP. If he missed it, he didn't know when he would get another chance. "This is a good place. I can't waste it. After I go out, I will ask how to come in here to absorb such a rich spirit spring." How could he miss such a huge amount of EXP? The effect of this spirit spring was relatively weak for core transformation stage cultivators, so it was suitable for spirit core stage cultivators to absorb. However, even if it was suitable for spirit core stage cultivators to absorb, they couldn't casually absorb it. If they absorbed it crazily, it would eventually dry up. Therefore, this place was strictly controlled by the Star Pavilion. Not everyone could come in. The number of days was also very strict. Under such circumstances, he kept a close eye on Renjiro's condition. Fortunately, Renjiro's condition was not as bad as before. She gradually stabilized and was not as painful as before. However, it was almost time. Almost 5 days had passed. When the time came, he would have to go out. He couldn't stay here forever, right? Fortunately, he didn't have to wait for too long. Renjiro climbed up again and said, "Brother, I am much better. When are we going back?" "Miss Ren, I am really not your brother," Yun explained many times. She still thought of him as her brother. "Big brother, you're making fun of me again," Renjiro said, taking his words as a joke. "Well, I am your brother." Yun was almost driven crazy. He could only nod and accept his fate. "Do you know where you will live?" "I don't remember where I will live." "Brother, don't you remember?" Renjiro was puzzled. "I don't know." Yun cursed in his heart. How would he know? He immediately stood up and said, "How would I remember? Time is almost up. Let's leave this place first." Renjiro nodded. Her condition was much better now. She climbed out of the crystal coffin easily. Under Yun's lead, they walked to the outermost exit. Just as they were about to leave through the exit, Renjiro asked, "Brother, aren't we going to leave from here?" She pointed to the pool over there and looked at Yun in confusion. "We can leave from there?" Yun thought for a moment. He listened to Renjiro and jumped into the pool. They swam along the passage and soon reached the outermost exit. When they came out, they found that it was connected to a small pond. This small pond did not have any spiritual energy. It was a very ordinary pond. It was no wonder that no one had discovered this secret passage. This was a relatively remote place. In this way, Won't I be able to go back and absorb spiritual power whenever I want? Tian Yun was delighted. If this was the case, he didn't need to ask how to enter. He could go around and enter through this passage. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.